Chapter 961, Yuan Ho, You Think Too Much. 1. As evening approached, Leng Ruoxue and the others finally arrived at the foot of Phoenix Cry Mountain. Along the way, they had been enduring the demonic voice of the Black Eagle and were already a little impatient. Therefore, as soon as the little peacock arrived at Phoenix Cry Mountain, they impatiently dragged the Black Eagle to a remote and hidden corner and chose to ignore it. Fengde, let's camp here today. Well, enter the mountain tomorrow. Leng Ruoxue looked at the empty terrain at the foot of the mountain and instructed. All right, Fengde replied. Then, he led his subordinates to set up the tent. Young Master Yuan, did you bring a tent? Leng Ruoxue looked at the motionless ape and asked with a light smile. No, why do we need to bring that? The ape asked foolishly. Of course it's for sleeping. Don't tell me you plan to sleep in the wilderness. Leng Ruoxue knew that this rich second-generation heir would definitely not bring these camping things, so she deliberately asked. Ah. I didn't bring anything, the ape said with a sad face. He rarely left the First Alliance, so he had no use for these things at all. Moreover, no matter where he went, his subordinates had already arranged everything for him. There was no need for him to do anything. Then what should we do? Leng Ruoxue pretended to be speechless and sighed softly. I'll keep watch at night, the ape said after thinking for a while. He knew that these subordinates of Miss Ning did not like him, so he could not expect any of them to be kind enough to give up their tent for him to stay in. He knew his limits. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm, how can I do that? You're the son of the former Alliance Master, Leng Ruoxue said in embarrassment. It's all right. It's my honor to keep watch for Miss Ning. All of you can go to sleep tonight. Black Egg and I will keep watch, Yuan Ho said fawningly. All right. Then I'll accept it. Leng Ruoxue pretended to decline and no longer refused. Ah. Beauty. Come. Come. Suddenly, the Black Eagle's painful and happy voice entered Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears. Everyone's foreheads were filled with black lines, and their stomachs were all heaving in unison. What was going on? Even though they were all very curious, no one went over to take a look. Ah. It was mainly because they were afraid that they would see something they shouldn't see. Ow! Ow! This was followed by several more suppressed howls. The Black Eagle seemed to be enduring something. Hearing this voice, Leng Ruoxue and the others were even more puzzled, and their curiosity was completely aroused. Ah! Young Master Yuan, your beast is screaming so miserably. Aren't you going to take a look? Fengde asked with a strange expression. There's no need, the ape said fearfully. Hearing this scream, he didn't dare to go over. The ape's words were immediately met with disdain from Fengde and the others. Their faces and eyes clearly said, what kind of master is this? The beast is enduring inhuman abuse, but the master is not responsible at all. Humph. Whoever becomes his beast is really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. Ah. Howl. The howling not far away lasted for more than half an hour, and Leng Ruoxue and the others' curiosity lasted for half an hour. As the wails became weaker and weaker, Leng Ruoxue and the others couldn't help but let their imagination run wild. Could it be that a beast's life had appeared? Even though the little peacock usually looked extremely obedient, it still wanted the beast's life when it was ruthless. It was really too terrifying. Just as everyone was letting their imagination run wild, the little peacock walked out from the corner, satisfied and refreshed. Master! The little peacock ran to Leng Ruoxue's side and rubbed against her fawningly. Are you satisfied? Leng Ruoxue stroked the soft feathers on the little peacock's head and smiled helplessly. It's all right. It's mainly because that dead bird is quite cooperative. Don't worry, Master. It's still alive. The little peacock said with a wicked smile. Beauty, I will live well for you. At this moment, the Black Eagle's weak voice sounded from the corner. Please keep reading on MYB 0xN0VL, C0M this time, when the little peacock heard the black eagle call it a beauty, it miraculously didn't get angry. When everyone saw this scene, they felt that it was unbelievable. Well, could it be that the two birds had reached some kind of agreement that they didn't know about? However, when they saw the black eagle walking out of the corner shyly, they were relieved. At the same time, they couldn't help but laugh wildly. Ha! Everyone laughed until they cried when they saw the black eagle's current appearance. At the same time, they sighed in their hearts. This little peacock was really ruthless. It actually plucked all the feathers off the black eagle's body. Sigh. No wonder it took so long. At this moment, the black eagle's entire body was bare, and not a single hair could be found. It could be seen how neat the little peacock's technique was. Black egg, how did you become like this? The ape was shocked when it saw its beast's bald appearance. At the same time, it couldn't help but wonder if Black Egg could still fly in this state. The answer was naturally no. The beauty said that I was too dark and it didn't like it, so it helped me to amp over, the Black Egg said shyly. Its skin was slightly red. The ape was about to be angered to death by this stupid bird. Even though he wanted to beat it up, it did not dare to be too violent in front of Miss Ning, lest Miss Ning despised him. The beauty said that I look much better now, the Black Eagle said as if he was in love. As if. Can you still fly now? The Yuan Ho growled in disappointment. He didn't dare to roar too loudly, afraid that his beloved Miss Ning would hear him. Hee hee. Of course not now, but after some time, my feathers will grow back and I will be able to fly again, the Black Egg said disapprovingly. As long as it could please a beauty, what was a body of feathers? Yuan Ho was so angry that its entire body was trembling and it could not speak. Calm down. Since things have come to this, please accept my condolences. Feng De walked forward and comforted him. Then, the others followed suit and patted the ape's shoulder to comfort it. Chapter 962, Yuan Ho, you think too much, too, thank you for your concern. I'm fine, Yuan Ho said, touched. Boo-hoo. He had finally been accepted by them, he thought happily. But if the others knew what he was thinking, they would tell him that he was overthinking it. Let's go hunting with us. Feng De received the freak's gaze and hugged Yuan Ho's shoulder, forcefully dragging the reluctant Yuan Ho away. Hunting. I didn't say I was going hunting with you. Yuan Ho's voice entered Leng Ruoxia's ears. Leng Ruoxia chuckled and looked at the freak coquettishly. Her beautiful eyes clearly said, "You're so bad. Little peacock, take this bald eagle somewhere else for a while. I have something to say to your master." The freak looked at the black eagle, who was sizing them up with wide eyes, and instructed softly. Yes, the little peacock replied. Then, he pulled the black eagle's wings and left. Schwer, it's great that all the light bulbs have left. The freak pulled Leng Ruoxia into his arms and said proudly. You're really? Leng Ruoxia smiled helplessly. I want to be alone with Schwer. The freak chuckled. Yes, I know. Leng Ruoxia nodded and hugged the freak's waist. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm just like that, the two of them kept their arms around each other. There were no additional words, but they felt warm and welcoming. The intimate atmosphere between them was one that no one could ever get into. It wasn't until they heard footsteps that they reluctantly released each other. We're back, miss, Feng De deliberately announced loudly. Yes. Leng Ruoxia nodded as she looked at Feng De and the others who appeared in front of them. Looks like your gains are not bad. Leng Ruoxia couldn't help but sigh when she saw the rabbit in their hands. That's right. Hee hee. There are many low-level spirit beasts in this mountain. There's a nest of them. Feng De looked at the fat rabbit in his hand and said happily. Ah. What happened to young Master Yuan? Leng Ruoxia suddenly glanced at Yuan Ho, who was hiding in the middle of the crowd in a sorry state. His clothes were actually torn, and his face was bruised. This couldn't help but surprise her. Well, Fengde and the others shouldn't have beaten him up again, right? He was beaten up by a rabbit. Fengde suppressed his laughter. To be honest, he had never seen such a stupid person in his life. Not only could he not even catch a rabbit, but he was also played by those stupid rabbits. Those rabbits were too cunning. I didn't catch any of them, Yuan Ho said in embarrassment. Boo-hoo. He didn't want to hunt at first, but then he heard from Miss Ning's subordinates that their miss liked rabbit meat the most, so he wanted to show off in front of Miss Ning. Who knew that he would end up embarrassing himself? It's okay, just catch him a few more times. Leng Ruoxua smiled and comforted him, but she couldn't help but feel anxious in her heart. It was normal not to catch such a rich second-generation heir. If he caught the rabbit, how stupid would the rabbit be? Young Master Ape, originally. If you didn't catch any rabbits, you shouldn't have any food to eat at night. However, our miss is kind-hearted and naturally won't watch you starve. So, go find a small river and clean up all these rabbits. If there's anything unclean, don't even think about eating at night. Fengde instructed with a naughty smile. I don't know how to catch rabbits, Yuan Ho said fearfully. Boo-hoo. After flying for nearly a day, he was already hungry. If he was not allowed to eat at night, he would starve to death. Lin Yuan, give him a sample. Fengde turned to look at Lin Yuan. All right. Lin Yuan took out a dagger as thin as a cicada's wing from his ring. Then, he picked up a dead rabbit and skillfully skinned it and removed its internal organs. In less than a minute, a huge rabbit weighing more than 10 kilograms was cleaned up by him. Here, follow this standard. Lin Yuan stuffed the packed rabbit into Yuan Hao's hand and reminded it. Ah! The ape was a little dumbfounded. Could he still be considered a human? Wasn't his speed a little too fast? Even though his subordinates would occasionally roast something for him to eat, their speed couldn't compare to this person's. What? Hurry up and clean up. Remember to wash it clean. Lin Yuan said impatiently. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL.C0M, I don't know where there's a river, Yuan Ho whispered. Didn't we encounter a river on the way back? It's not very far from here. You can just wash there, Lin Yuan said speechlessly. Oh. But how can I take so many rabbits? Yuan Ho asked again. Fuck, you're asking too many questions. Why do you have so many questions? These rabbits didn't let you hold them with your hands. Is your storage ring a toy? Lin Yuan's patience was exhausted and he couldn't help but roar. Why are you so fierce? Yuan Ho muttered softly, his face filled with grievance. Go! Lin Yuan roared, glaring. Ah! I'll go now. Yuan Ho hurriedly put the rabbits in the hands of the others into the ring and then went to clean up. But he was back before long. Don't tell me you're done packing so quickly. Lin Yuan said in disbelief. Damn, wasn't this strange? Can you lend me your dagger? Yuan Ho whispered, ducking his head in fear. Here, don't lose it. Lin Yuan kept telling himself to calm down. Then, after taking a few deep breaths, he handed the dagger that had been retracted from his ring to Yuan Ho. Yes. Yuan Ho nodded, then turned and left again. Fengde, can he get the rabbits? Leng Ruoxua asked with a headache as she watched Yuan Ho leave as if it was going to the execution ground. Miss, we don't know anything either. Humans have to go through more adversity. Therefore, we're giving him a chance now. He has to thank us. Fengde said disapprovingly. Looks like I won't be able to eat rabbit tonight. Leng Ruoxua didn't have any hope in the speed at which Yuan Ho cleaned up the rabbit meat. Chapter 963, Yuan Ho, you think too much, 3, hee. Who said we can't eat it? We still have more. Fengde took out more than 10 fat rabbits from his ring and said proudly. Sigh. You guys are getting worse. Len Ruoxue sighed. Hee hee. If we count on eating the rabbits prepared that second-generation heir, we probably won't be able to eat them tomorrow morning. Therefore, we naturally have to be prepared beforehand. Feng De said disapprovingly. With that, Feng De and the others worked together. Not long after, the rabbit meat was placed on the fire to roast. However, Yuan Ho still hadn't returned when Len Ruoxue and the others finished dinner and the sky was getting darker. This made Len Ruoxue curious. Feng De, get some people to find that Yuan Ho. We haven't left the First Alliance yet. If anything happens to him, won't the original Alliance master eat us? Len Ruoxue said helplessly. Alas! This Yuan Ho was really troublesome. Even though she really wanted to throw this ape here to feed the wolves, it was not the time to fall out with them. Otherwise, she would have left long ago. Okay. Feng De nodded and led his men into Phoenix Cry Mountain to look for the ape. A moment later, Feng De and the others carried the dying Yuan Ho back to the camp. What happened? Len Ruoxue looked at Yuan Ho that was covered in blood and breathing weakly and asked in confusion. I don't know. He was like this when we went to the river, Feng De explained. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm, let him eat this. Len Ruoxue took out a pill and handed it to Feng De Sai. Yuan Ho couldn't die yet. Her show wasn't over yet. Okay. Feng De took the pill, pried open Yuan Ho's mouth, and threw the pill in. After a while, the unconscious Yuan Ho woke up, and his injuries were almost healed. Miss Ning. Boo-hoo. I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again. The first thing Yuan Ho did when it opened its eyes was to cry bitterly to Len Ruoxue to express its feelings. Stop. Young Master Yuan, don't just cry. Tell us what happened first. Len Ruoxue asked curiously. I was cleaning up the rabbit meat by the river when a group of people came and snatched all our rabbits away. They even injured me, Yuan Ho explained softly. Oh. Then why didn't you shout for help? Len Ruoxue didn't understand. Wasn't this second-generation heir quite arrogant? Why had he been beaten up repeatedly recently? Sigh. What an unlucky child. There were too many enemies, and they were all very fierce. I was injured and fainted before I could say anything, Yuan Ho said in embarrassment. Boo-hoo. Now he knew that his father had not lied to him. This Phoenix Cry Mountain was really dangerous. He had only been here for a short time, but he had almost lost his life here. They took your dagger, too, Yuan Ho added in a voice smaller than a mosquito, not daring to look at Lin Yuan. Who snatched it? Lin Yuan glared at him and questioned fiercely. That dagger was refined for them by their Mississippi. They each had one. One had to know that it was not easy for their miss to refine a weapon once. Therefore, that dagger was definitely difficult to obtain even with money. Moreover, they usually cherished it and could not bear to use it to kill people. Well, they often used it to cut meat. I don't know. Yuan Ho was frightened by Lin Yuan's fierce expression and stuttered. Then do you remember what those people looked like? Len Ruoxue asked calmly. Yes, I'll recognize them even if they turn to dust, Yuan Ho said fiercely. This was the second time. In his entire life, he had only been beaten twice. He couldn't find them the first time round, so he would find them even if he had to search the entire Phoenix Cry Mountain. That's good. Let's go into the mountains tomorrow and look for them. Len Ruoxue said calmly. Miss Ning, this is the second time you've saved me. Boo-hoo. I've decided. I must, he was interrupted by the freak before he could finish his sentence. It's time for you to rest, my lady, the freak reminded her with a wicked grin. In front of the Yuan father and son, he was not Shuer fiancé, but a guard. Oh. Okay. Len Ruoxue was very helpless. She knew that this jealous lover was most likely jealous again. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M. Then, Len Ruoxue and the freak went into a tent. Why did he go in too? Yuan Ho was a little dumbfounded when it saw that the handsome man had actually followed Miss Ning into the tent. He was a little uneasy. He's my lattice personal guard. Of course he has the right to enter, Fengde said indifferently without even batting his eyelids. Even a personal guard doesn't have to be so personal. Yuan Ho said with jealousy. Boo-hoo. Why wasn't he the one who could protect Miss Ning by her side? Oh God. You're so unfair. Tisk, don't you also have a girl to warm your bed? With my lattice status, what's so strange about having such a personal guard? Fengde said disapprovingly. Ah. How did you know? Yuan Ho was a little shocked. He had warned the people around him not to tell anyone about this. Do you think your trivial matters are really some incredible secret? Fengde said speechlessly. In fact, he was really not interested in his gossip. However, the Black Eagle had revealed these things to please the little peacock, and the little peacock had told them. Does Miss Ning know? Yuan Ho asked nervously. Even we know about it. What do you think? Fengde asked instead of answering. It's over. It's over. What should we do? Yuan Ho was depressed. How would he live if Miss Ning had a bad impression of him because of this? Boo-hoo. Even though that was all in the past, what if Miss Ning minded? Don't think too much. Keep watch. Fengde patted the ape's shoulder and reminded him. Hee. Even if he couldn't read minds, he could guess what that ape was thinking about just by looking at its expression. In fact, he wanted to shout, Ape! You're thinking too much. Chapter 964, Yuan Ho, you think too much. With that, Fengde went into his tent, and the others returned to their tents. In the blink of an eye, there was only a dazed man and a bald eagle sitting by the fire for warmth. Ah! It's too cold for a featherless eagle, Black Egg thought to itself. However, it had coaxed the beauty out of her anger at the very least. It considered itself much luckier than its master, who still had a long way to go. After letting its imagination run wild, Black Egg sat by the fire and stared at its master. It wasn't until Yuan Hao's soul returned to his body and he felt a gaze on him that he reluctantly looked up. Black Egg, why are you staring at me? Master, there's a fire here. Aren't you cold? The Black Egg reminded him. Alas! Master was a little foolish. Oh! After being reminded by the Black Egg, Yuan Ho realized that it was indeed quite cold now. He got up, moved a few feet, and joined it by the fire. But as he sat down, he felt his stomach growl in protest again. Boo-hoo! He hadn't eaten in almost a day, and he was hungry. Black Egg, is there anything to eat? Yuan Ho helplessly asked his beast for food. No, master. You have rations in your storage ring, don't you? Black Egg reminded him. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Oh, really? Yuan Ho looked into the ring doubtfully. Sure enough, he found a few pieces of hard and dry rations inside. Yuan Ho accepted his fate and took them out to eat, his heart aching. Boo-hoo! When had he ever been treated like this? The more he thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt. However, he still had to finish the hard and dry rations with tears in his eyes. By the second half of the night, it was getting colder. Yuan Ho and the bald Black Egg were shivering. Even being near the fire couldn't dispel the chill of the night, so the master and the beast had to snuggle up to each other for warmth. The next day, when Len Ruoxue and the others came out of the tent, they saw this scene. Is it very cold at night? Len Ruoxue asked in confusion. This wasn't the mountains, so it shouldn't be cold. Besides, didn't they have a fire beside them? Yes, it was very cold. Yuan Ho could feel himself freezing. You're really a rich second-generation heir. You can't even take this little hardship. If we were in the deep mountains, would we only be able to see 2 ice sculptures the next day? Feng De mocked with slight disdain. Yuan Ho pouted, but there was nothing he could say. Make breakfast. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Yes. A moment later, Feng De and the others quickly prepared breakfast. The ape was dumbfounded when it saw their agile movements. During breakfast, Yuan Ho wolfed down the food as if he had never seen food before. Feng De and the others were speechless. How hungry was this person? Sorry, I'm too hungry, Yuan Ho said in embarrassment when he saw that most of the food had entered his stomach. He felt that he had never eaten anything so delicious in his life. It's okay. We'll keep a tab for you. You have to pay for everything you eat, Feng De said with a smile. Yes, money is not a problem, Yuan Ho said quickly as long as he was not hungry. After breakfast, everyone packed up and walked towards Phoenix Cry Mountain. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M. Of course, there was no real phoenix in Phoenix Cry Mountain. It was mainly named after its shape. From afar, the entire Phoenix Cry Mountain looked like a phoenix that was chirping and spreading its wings. The scenery of Phoenix Cry Mountain was famous for being beautiful on the Divine Continent. In addition, the beasts in the mountain were not very strong. The number of level 9 transcendent divine beasts were so few that it was pathetic, and there were no traces of divine beasts. Therefore, many families and forces liked to bring their juniors here to train. Therefore, Leng Ruoxue and the others encountered several groups of people not long after entering the mountain. One of the teams happened to be the one they were looking for. Miss Ning, it was those people in blue who injured me, Yuan Ho whispered to Leng Ruoxue and the others. Oh. Leng Ruoxue heard Yuan Ho's words and looked at the team mainly dressed in blue. There were about 30 people in that team, and most of them were elementary gods. However, the few people leading the team had the strength of advanced gods. Their clothes were basically blue, and there were totems embroidered on their clothes. There was a small, Yao character in the bottom left corner of their clothes. Among them was only a woman in a dazzling red dress, which made her stand out in the team. That woman was extremely beautiful. Her figure was enchanting and sexy. Even though her appearance might not be as good as Miss Ning, who she had met once, her temperament was much better than Miss Ning. Oh. Could it be that Yuan Ho was robbed because of his appearance? Looking at the beautiful woman not far away, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but think to herself. Chapter 965, The Daughter of the Yao Family. 1. The other party clearly noticed the existence of Leng Ruoxue and the others just as Leng Ruoxue was sizing them up. The two teams continued for a while until the woman in red suddenly walked in front of Leng Ruoxue and said with a charming smile, "Hello, little sister. My name is Yao Qianqian. Let's be friends." After saying that, she reached out to shake Leng Ruoxue's hand. Leng Ruoxue only chuckled, neither agreeing nor deliberately refusing. When Yao Qianqian saw that Leng Ruoxue was actually so calm, the anger in her heart could not help but surge. The jealousy in her beautiful eyes flashed. How could there be such a beautiful and outstanding woman in the world? She was really angry. Since she was young, she knew very well that she was definitely not as beautiful as Ning Renjie. Therefore, she had always paid a lot of attention to her temperament. And it turned out that she had succeeded because almost everyone would say both openly and secretly that Ning Renjie's temperament was not as good as hers. This was also the proudest thing she had ever done in her life. However, Leng Ruoxue's appearance completely shattered her beautiful dream. Today, she specially chose red dress because she wanted to attract attention and attract everyone's attention. However, even the simple and plain clothes of the woman in front of her completely covered her brilliance. How could she not be envious and jealous? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but increase the strength of her hand and release her pressure. Her goal was to make Leng Ruoxue embarrass herself. Who asked the woman in front of her to be weaker than her? She couldn't help but think proudly, No one could steal her limelight. She was the one who attracted the most attention and attracted the most attention. The person who was the center of attention could only be her. Feng De and the others watched coldly from the sidelines. They only looked at Yao Qianqian as if they were watching a good show. Sigh. What a reckless woman. Of all people, why did she have to be jealous of their young miss? Even though the woman thought she had hidden her jealousy well with her enthusiasm, they had seen enough of such women that it was impossible to fool them. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm sigh. It seemed that their miss really didn't have much luck with women. Why did they always meet such jealous women wherever they went? They couldn't figure it out. Miss Yao, are you done holding my hand? Leng Ruoxua looked at Yao Qianqian indifferently with her beautiful eyes and revealed a gorgeous smile. Everyone around them except for Feng De and Gang, fell into a daze immediately and only came back to their senses after a long time. Little sister, just call me elder sister. Yao Qianqian was 100% enthusiastic. Her beautiful face was full of smiles, but her eyes burned with the flames of jealousy. I'm sorry. My grandpa said not to casually acknowledge random sisters, Leng Ruoxua said with a faint smile. Then, she secretly flicked Yao Qianqian's hand away. As soon as Yao Qianqian's hand was repelled, 5 purplish-red fingerprints appeared on the back of Leng Ruoxua's fair hand. Those who had just regained their senses understood at a glance. At the same time, their impression of Yao Qianqian worsened. Miss Yao's grip is really strong. Leng Ruoxua sneered. Little sister, Yao Qianqian was about to explain, but the freak interrupted her. Miss, does it hurt? The freak held Shuer's hand with heartache. His handsome face was filled with worry. Moreover, in his heart, Yao Qianqian was already dead. Miss, is it very painful? Feng De and the others asked cooperatively. Sponsored content, Miss Yao. You're too much, Leng Ruhan said with a cold expression even though he knew that Shuer had deliberately let Yao Qianqian leave evidence on her hands. One could imagine how much force Yao Qianqian had used looking at the 5 handprints that had already turned dark purple. Thinking of this, the anger in his heart burned. How could his precious little sister be bullied? Miss Yao, what are your intentions? You have to give us a satisfactory explanation. Otherwise, we will definitely not let you off. Leng Qingtian also said coldly, the flames in his eyes burning. That's right. What a vicious woman. Aya, if anyone marries you, their family will definitely be doomed, the disheveled old man said bluntly. Hearing the accusations of Leng Ruhan and the others, Yao Qianqian felt a little embarrassed. The Yao family members who came with her also felt a little embarrassed. After all, many people in the Yao family understood Yao Qianqian's nature. You! How dare you! I'm the young miss from the Yao family. When Yao Qianqian saw the other party's aggressive attitude, she used her identity as the daughter of the Yao family to scare them away. Unfortunately, Leng Ruhan and the others did not care at all. It did not matter if she was from the Yao family or the Ning family. No one could not bully their Shuer. Is your identity very impressive? You ugly freak. At this moment, Yuan Ho jumped 3 times and cursed. Well. Everyone was fighting to perform, so he couldn't fall behind. What did you say? Didn't I beat you enough previously? I really didn't expect you to be so lively after being injured like that. You're really an unkillable cockroach. Yao Qianqian roared with disdain. I said that you're an ugly freak. You're ugly, but you don't allow others to say it. Go home and hide. Don't wander around outside. It won't be good if you scare people to death. With someone backing him up, the ape became more confident and mocked him bluntly. Please keep reading on MYB0xN0VL.C0M, you're really courting death. I should have killed you last time. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. Kill me. If you have the ability, kill me now. If you can't kill me, take my surname, Yuan Ho provoked. Just you wait. I will do as you wish. Yao Qianqian was so angry that she went crazy. She even forgot to maintain her ladylike appearance. Her tigress appearance shocked everyone. Then come and kill me now. If you can't kill me, you can take my surname, Yuan Ho said proudly. Hee hee. With Miss Ning's subordinates around, he didn't believe that this woman could really kill him. Alright, I'll take your surname if I can't kill you. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. She wanted to attack, but was stopped by a slightly dignified voice. Chapter 966, Qianqian, don't mess around. A middle-aged man who looked righteous growled unhappily. Uncle. Yao Qianqian stomped her feet and called out unhappily. This isn't our house. It's not your place to fool around, Uncle Yao reprimanded. Everyone, I'm sorry. My niece has been spoiled by her parents from a young age. Please forgive her for offending you, Uncle Yao said apologetically. You bullied my lady. Is an apology enough? Feng Da's cold voice floated over. Yes, and me. They even injured me, Yuan Ho interrupted, as if he was afraid that Feng Da would forget him. Tell me, how are you going to compensate us? Feng Da smiled kindly, but his dark and bright eyes were cold. What requests do you have? As long as it's something I can do, there's no harm in saying it. Uncle Yao was very understanding. Even though the Yao family was big and there was no need for him to lower his head to these strangers, they were outnumbered and they were in Phoenix Cry Mountain. If the two sides really fought, they would definitely not have an advantage. He was afraid that others would benefit in the end. This was the last thing he wanted. Leng Ruoxue and the others had similar thoughts as the other party. Therefore, since the other party was willing to let them offer compensation, they would keep Yao Qianqian alive for the time being. In any case, they would only let her live for a while. Requests. There are, but I'm afraid you can't do it. Feng Da smiled evilly, his eyes filled with schemes. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm, what request? You can tell me. Uncle Yao took a deep breath and kept warning himself to calm down. He could not be as impulsive as Qianqian. You robbed us yesterday, and we're going to rob you today. So, take out all the valuable things on you. Feng Da said with a smile. This, Uncle Yao hesitated. At this moment, he even felt that the other party was a little ruthless. It was known that many of the cultivators carried their precious items with them. Their items would naturally no longer exist if they were dead. However, this person asked them to hand over all their belongings. Wasn't that too much? After all, they had only robbed some rabbit meat yesterday. What? You want? Feng Da sneered. We only robbed some rabbit meat yesterday. Isn't it a little too much for you to want to take all our belongings because of that rabbit meat? Uncle Yao asked softly. Not to mention just rabbit meat, even if you robbed a rabbit fur, if we encounter it today, we have to compensate with all our belongings. Otherwise, well, settle it with force, Feng Da said disapprovingly. Ah. I'm afraid this matter will have to be decided by your miss, right? Uncle Yao said implicitly. In other words, could he make the decision? However, Leng Ruoxue, who was enjoying the attention from the freak, had no time to care about Uncle Yao. She couldn't even be bothered to raise her head. If I can't make the decision, would I waste my breath on you? Feng Da said speechlessly. Well. It seemed that this old man looked down on his status. Hee hee. So. Are you going to give it to us voluntarily? Or do you want us to use force? Feng Da asked impatiently. Uncle, don't give it to them. I don't believe they dare to do anything to our Yao family. Yao Qianqian interrupted again. Qianqian, shut up. Uncle Yao said with a headache. Uncle. Yao Qianqian wanted to say something, but she swallowed her words under the threat of her uncle's gaze. Miss Yao, didn't your parents teach you not to always talk about your family when you're out? This is very annoying. If someone really wanted to kill you, who would care about your family? Fengde said with a faint smile. They had already offended one of the ladies of the Yao family. They were not afraid of one sheep. Sponsored content. Everyone, Qianyan is young and insensible. I hope you won't hold it against her, Uncle Yao said helplessly. I refuse. I'm a petty person who holds grudges. So, Uncle Yao, what do you think we should do? Fengde said as if he was listening to him. Please keep reading on MYB0xN0VL.C0M. Everyone, actually, Qianqian is not to blame for what happened last night. Uncle Yao did not answer Fengde's question. Instead, he mentioned what happened last night. Oh. Then who is to blame? Fengde's gaze wandered across the faces of Uncle Yao and Yuan Ho, making the two of them shudder. Of course it's his fault. Yao Qianqian pointed at Yuan Ho and said fiercely. Little monkey, tell me the truth. What exactly is going on? Fengde glared and roared. Boo-hoo, it's really not my fault. Yuan Ho said fearfully. Then explain everything clearly. If you hide anything, you know the consequences, Fengde threatened. I was cleaning up the rabbit meat yesterday. This ugly monster came over and wanted to try 2 of them, but I didn't give them to her, so she called some people to beat me up and snatch those rabbits. That's it, Yuan Ho confessed. You're still addressing me as an ugly monster. Yao Qianqian interrupted. You're an ugly freak to begin with. You're an arrogant ugly monster, yet you still dream of seducing me. I'm already taken. Who would fancy you? Yuan Ho said disdainfully. You're courting death. Yao Qianqian was so angry that her cheeks turned red. She reached out to teach Yuan Ho a lesson. Not only is she an ugly monster, but she's also an unwanted tigress. The man who marries you will definitely be unlucky for the rest of his life. Yuan Ho said very viciously. Then, it hid behind Fengde in fear, only revealing its head. Fengde and the others watched this farce and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Sigh. No wonder Yuan Ho did not dare to tell the truth. So there was such a thing. However, what did Yuan Ho mean by he was taken? Uncle Yao, everyone should know the truth now. How do you think this matter should be handled? Fengde said with a faint smile. Even though he did not like that monkey, in the eyes of outsiders, the monkey was on their side, so he naturally could not stand by and do nothing. Chapter 967. This, Uncle Yao was sweating profusely and did not know how to answer. Could he say that his niece was in the wrong? However, this matter was obvious. The people present were neither deaf nor blind, so he really could not lie through his teeth. Moreover, if he really said it, he was afraid that the other party would not let it go. Everyone, I feel that both sides are at fault in this matter. Let's punish both parties equally without considering guilt. It's wrong for Qianqian to bring people to snatch the meat and injure others, but a man shouldn't be calling a young girl is ugly. Uncle Yao hesitated for a moment and avoided the main point. At the same time, he was secretly pleased. Hee. The other party had nothing to say now. She's ugly to begin with. Yuan Ho said indignantly. Boo-hoo. These people outside were really bad. He was the victim, but now he had to suffer injustice. It was really unfair. He couldn't help but curse silently. Little monkey, don't be like Miss Yao. You're so uncultured. How can you children interrupt when adults are talking? Fengde scolded. Oh. Yuan Ho obeyed and shut its mouth, not daring to speak again. Uncle Yao, according to you, your niece brought people to snatch meat and beat them until they were on their last breath. It's equivalent to being called ugly, right? Fengde asked with a faint smile. Ah. What do you mean, sir? Uncle Yao asked carefully, afraid that he would fall into the other party's trap. Why don't you call me ugly too? Then, I'll beat you up until you're half dead. What do you think of my suggestion? Feng De asked innocently. When Uncle Yao heard Feng Da's words, he almost fainted. What's wrong? Calm down, be agitated. It's not good for your health. Sigh. You have to be careful in all aspects when you're old. Feng De said angrily. Please keep reading Zero and MYB Zero's novel. Calm, however, I say, your Yao family's upbringing is too poor. The dignified Miss Yao actually seduced a man for a few pieces of rabbit meat. If she can't seduce him, she'll snatch him away. Sigh. The morals of the world are degenerating day by day. Feng De added. However, the little monkey is right. Your niece is really ugly. Her ugly heart is even uglier, Feng De said to himself, not looking at Uncle Yao's darkening expression. Yes. That's great. Yuan Ho, who was hiding behind Feng De, agreed with him. He was so happy that he wanted to curse in his heart. Damn! How did he train his eloquence to anger the living and the dead? He was an idol. Behave yourself. Children are not allowed to interrupt when adults are talking. Don't be like Miss Yao and be ill-mannered. Feng De patted the ape's head and reprimanded. Yes. Feng De obediently shut his mouth. Now that he had already treated Feng De as his idol, he naturally listened to him. Uncle Yao, do you think you can agree to my conditions? Tell me. It's already afternoon, and we haven't eaten lunch. Feng De urged. Uncle Yao couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. It was obvious that he was agitated. Sir, we were in the wrong yesterday. I apologize on behalf of the Yao family. However, it's a little too much for you to ask us to hand over all our assets, another middle-aged man said calmly. Too much. Why don't I think so? It's too late to admit that it's your fault. I'll add an additional condition. Of course, you can also choose to say that I'm an ugly monster and then be beaten almost to death by my brothers and me. That way, you won't have anything to lose in terms of assets. Choose one of the two. Choose for yourself. Feng De said with a smile. As the saying went, humans died for money and birds died for food. He just didn't know how the Yao family would choose. May we discuss this? The middle-aged man asked politely. Of course, but my patience is limited, Feng De reminded him. All right, I'll give you an answer as soon as possible, the middle-aged man said helplessly. Sponsored content with that, he returned to the Yao family's team and discussed with everyone. However, after discussing for a while, everyone's opinions were not unanimous. Both Uncle Yao and him were in favor of spending money to avoid disaster, but the younger generation of the Yao family, led by Yao Qianqian, were very disapproving of this. They even felt that Uncle Yao and that middle-aged man were too cowardly. How could the descendants of the Yao family be threatened by others? In the end, Uncle Yao forcefully unified the opinions as an elder. However, he was quite disappointed with the performance of these juniors of the Yao family because they did not understand his heart. Alas! He was not afraid of trouble. Wasn't he compromising so much for their lives? Who asked the other party to have nearly 3 times the number of people? He was really not confident that he could protect everyone. Unfortunately, the juniors of the Yao family, led by Yao Qianqian, did not understand. We've discussed it. We're willing to give up all our assets. The middle-aged man announced on behalf of the Yao family's uncle, who was trembling with anger. At the same time, he secretly noted down the faces of these people. The person who dared to rob the Yao family and embarrass them had yet to be born in this world. Therefore, the Yao family would remember this debt today. Please keep reading on MYB0xN0VL.C0M, we've discussed it. We're willing to give up all our assets. The middle-aged man announced on behalf of the Yao family's uncle, who was trembling with anger. At the same time, he secretly noted down the faces of these people. The person who dared to rob the Yao family and embarrass them had yet to be born in this world. Therefore, the Yao family would remember this debt today. Sure, but as I said, I have an additional condition. Feng De smiled evilly. What condition? The middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. Let that Miss Yao Qianqian be a bed warmer for the little monkey. After all, the little monkey was injured by her and her men. She has to be responsible, Feng De said calmly. What? Two voices sounded at the same time in disbelief. One belonged to Yao Qianqian and the other to Yao Qianqian. Look at how united the two of you are. What a perfect match, Feng De teased with a smile. To be honest, he had thought of this idea by accident. Sigh. He had no choice. Who asked this Yuan Ho to always have designs on his miss? Chapter 968, The Daughter of the Yao Family, 4, Idol, I. Im taken. I don't want this ugly woman. Yuan Ho said in fear. He was afraid that his idol would force this ugly woman on him. Then he would cry to death. I don't want you either. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. She hated Feng De to death. This is not up to you. I told you, you are just the additional condition. Feng De ignored the burning anger in Yao Qianqian's eyes and said calmly. I say, little monkey, even though this Yao Qianqian doesn't have a good temper and is an ugly freak, she's still a woman. Her family background is passable. Just use her. Feng De pulled Yuan Ho in front of him and advised. No. I don't want to. You. If you dare to force this annoying woman on me, I'll commit suicide. Yuan Ho thought for a long time before coming up with this method to threaten Feng De. Ha. When Feng De heard this threat, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He thought to himself, if you want to die, then die. It's not like you're anyone to me. It's none of my business. However, under such circumstances, of course, I can't say that. Little monkey, don't take things too hard. If you don't want it, then forget it. I won't force you, Feng De said helplessly. Then, he said to the middle-aged man, since the little monkey is unwilling, forget about the additional conditions. However, you have to remember that your Yao family still owes me a condition. What the hell? What kind of person was this? They had already agreed to hand over all their assets, but in the end, they still owed him an additional condition. What was going on? The middle-aged man, who had always been calm, trembled in anger when he heard Feng De's words. However, he quickly calmed down. Then, he took a few deep breaths and gritted his teeth. I understand. Damn it. You, at this moment, Yao Qianqian, who was ignored, was about to shout without caring about her image, but her mouth was covered by the middle-aged man. Sigh. He was really afraid that this little ancestor would say something she shouldn't. At that time, they would probably owe her even more. He hated her in his heart. Please keep reading 0 and myboxen 0 VL. Come then, he handed Yao Qianqian over to Uncle Yao to manage. Then, he collected all the storage rings from the Yao family and handed them to Feng De. Lin Yuan took the storage rings from Feng De's hand and searched them one by one. As he searched, he muttered, Where's my knife? Where did you hide my dagger? Is it that one? Feng De gestured with his eyes for Lin Yuan to look at Yao Qianqian's waist. Yes, that's my knife. Lin Yuan rushed forward and snatched the dagger from Yao Qianqian's waist. He gently stroked the scabbard like a lover who had lost and regained her lover. That's my knife. Give it back. Yao Qianqian roared in anger. She had finally taken a fancy to a handy weapon and she could not let anyone snatch it away. At this moment, she had long forgotten that she had snatched the dagger from Yuan Ho. Yours? What proof do you have that it will answer you when you call it? Lin Yuan asked with a smirk. Will it answer you if you call it? Yao Qianqian said, refusing to admit defeat. Of course, little Yuan. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Lin Yuan whispered apologetically to the dagger. Buzz. The blade came out of its sheath and made a buzzing sound, as if it was a child whining to its master about its grievances. No. This is impossible. Yao Qianqian could not believe what she was seeing. It was just a dagger. How could it understand human language? No wonder her uncle said at a glance that this knife was extraordinary. However, she had studied it all night and had not found anything unusual. At most, it was sharper than ordinary knives. Miss Yao, my little Yuan said that it hates you, Lin Yuan said with a wicked smile. His bright eyes were filled with schadenfreude. Hee. Even though this dagger was not sentient, he knew Xiao Yuan's emotions because his blood was added to it when it was refined. With this special relationship, even if little Yuan was snatched away by someone else, no one could really use it. It was even possible that their whereabouts would be exposed. This was because as long as it found an opportunity, little Yuan would definitely contact him, someone who was related to him by blood. However, because little Yuan was a little far away from him yesterday, it could not contact him even if it wanted to. As for today, it was precisely because he sensed little Yuan's existence that he had this coincidence. Yao Qianqian almost died of anger at Lin Yuan's words. Damn it, how could a dagger say that he hated her? Does little Yuan want to take revenge yourself? Lin Yuan asked with a smile. The dagger named Little Yuan floated in the air and then swayed its blade as if it was nodding. Immediately after, everyone saw a cold light flash. Please keep reading on myboxen 0 VL. Calm. Chapter 969, The Depressed Yao Family, 1, Ah. A piercing scream suddenly sounded. It was deafening, earth-shattering, and made everyone's blood run cold. Everyone present looked curiously at the source of the scream, just in time to see a flash of red light fall to the ground. Immediately, a totally naked person appeared in front of everyone, and that person was none other than Yao Qianqian. Immediately, everyone was a little dumbfounded, especially the eldest uncle of the Yao family who was watching over Yao Qianqian. After all, Yao Qianqian was the closest to him, so he was the most agitated. Damn! What was going on? Logically speaking, every man would like to use their eyes to take advantage of others. However, if the person being taken advantage of was his own niece, this would be a little unacceptable. However, the other men were not as depressed as Uncle Yao. After being stunned for a moment, they watched openly. After all, such an opportunity was rare. Especially since this person was the daughter of the Yao family. Hee. It was a rare sight. As for the person involved, there was no reaction other than a scream at the moment of the incident. By the time she was fully awake, her entire body would have been seen by everyone. Wow! Yao Qianqian has a good figure, someone in the crowd shouted. At the same time, one of her admirers in the Yao family team took off his coat and draped it over Yao Qianqian's body. However, not only did he not manage to cover her properly, he even received a slap. Damn it, what were you doing earlier? And all of you are dead. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. At this moment, she had the urge to kill someone. These smelly men usually said all sorts of sweet words, but they could not be counted on at the critical moment. They were only concerned with taking advantage of her like everyone else. How could she not be angry? Qianqian, I'm sorry. I was also scared silly. Admirer number 1 was at a loss. At that time, he was a little scared. However, later. Thinking of this, he did not dare look at Yao Qianqian in her anger. Uncle, you have to avenge me. Yao Qianqian looked at Uncle Yao with tears in her eyes. Her beautiful face was still filled with grievance. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M, Qianqian, calm down. Uncle Yao sighed softly and said helplessly. His cheeks were still slightly red. Revenge? Who to take revenge on? The lecherous knife that cut off Qianqian's clothes? Or the owner of the knife? At a time like this, he felt that it was not appropriate to find anyone. They had to endure this anger for the time being. I can't calm down. If my parents were here, they definitely wouldn't watch me suffer such humiliation. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. However, this time, Uncle Yao was not angry. Sigh. He understood Qianqian's feelings. After calming down, he said comfortingly, Qianqian, now that your parents are not around, you have to listen to Uncle. Then Uncle will help me take revenge and kill all of them, Yao Qianqian said hatefully. In fact, she not only wanted to kill Feng De and the others, but she also wanted to kill all the men present who saw her body. Otherwise, if this matter spread, she would never be able to marry into the Ning family in this lifetime. Qianqian, calm down first. We have to discuss this matter carefully, Uncle Yao reminded her softly. They couldn't kill all the teams present. Besides, he didn't have the ability. Everyone, what happened just now was just an accident. I hope that everyone will not spread this matter on my account. After all, this matter concerns Qianqian's reputation. Please give our Yao family face. Our Yao family will not treat everyone unfairly. Uncle Yao said to everyone present without giving Yao Qianqian a chance to react. Don't worry. We will keep Miss Yao's secret, one of them immediately said. That's good. Thank you, everyone. In the future, all of you will be good friends of my Yao family, Uncle Yao said eloquently, and the people he mentioned naturally included Leng Ruoxue and the others. Secret. She believed that only the dead could keep secrets. Yao Qianqian could not help but snort in her heart. However, she did not interrupt her uncle. However, she knew that she could not count on her uncle. Everyone, thank you for giving me face. Uncle Yao specially said to Feng De and the others. The smile on his face looked very sincere. However, Feng De and the others knew that this Uncle Yao was definitely a ruthless person. He was almost angered to death, but he could still submit and stand tall. Such people were often the most difficult to deal with, so they secretly raised their guard. Uncle Yao is too polite. We sympathize with Miss Yao's accident. Sigh. My condolences. Feng De said politely. My condolences. What condolences? Qianqian isn't dead. Hearing Feng De's words, Uncle Yao couldn't help but curse in his heart. However, he had no choice but to show a grateful expression and say, thank you for understanding. Same. Feng De also smiled. Yao Qianqian almost lost her temper as she listened to their conversation. However, she was once again ignored by everyone. After pretending to be polite to the other party, Feng De and the others, who had achieved their goal, bade farewell to a few teams. When the other teams saw this, they quickly slipped away. In fact, they all knew in their hearts that Uncle Yao had humbled himself because he was outnumbered. However, if the others left and they stayed, their teams would definitely become the Yao family's punching bag. Therefore, in a short while, other than the Yao family's team, the other teams had all left. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M. After Leng Ruoxue and the others left, they found a flat place and stopped moving forward. However, as soon as they set up the tent, they realized that the other teams they had encountered earlier had also arrived. Ha! Hello, everyone. We're really fated. An older man said with a smile. That's right. It has to be fate. Seeing that the young lady and the others had no intention of speaking, Feng De could only reply on their behalf. Fate? He didn't know if it was really fate or not. In fact, he knew very well that these people were clearly afraid of being avenged by Uncle Yao, so they followed them here. However, it was good that they were here. The more people, the merrier. Chapter 970, The Depressed Yao Family, 2. Just as Feng De was chatting with the man, the Yao family's team arrived. When Feng De saw this, he immediately understood. It seemed that the Yao family was sticking to them. Why, was the lesson just now too light? I didn't expect everyone to be here. Hee hee. That's great. Uncle Yao smiled happily. That's right. We are really fated. Feng De said with a fake smile. He was extremely annoyed by Uncle Yao. Hee hee, Uncle Yao, I won't chat with you anymore. I still have to cook. Feng De said again. Then, he really went to light a fire and started cook. Before long, the fragrance of the food assaulted their noses, tempting everyone. Most of them were too embarrassed to ask for it, they were not very familiar with each other after all. However, some people were very thick-skinned, such as the one in front of them. Share your food with us. It's too fragrant. Qianqian wants to eat it. Admirer number 1 walked up to Feng De and the others. His sneaky eyes kept glancing at Leng Ruoxue from time to time. Don't you have hands and feet? Feng De asked with a faint smile. Air. What do you mean? Asked Admirer 1, puzzled. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M, you have hands and feet, but you don't know how to cook. You're already so old, yet you still have the cheek to beg. I'm already embarrassed for your parents. How did you give birth to such a disappointing thing like you? Feng De scolded bluntly. I'm not begging. I just want to order something from you. Admirer number 1's face was red, but he had to explain. Do you think this is different? Feng De said speechlessly. What kind of IQ did this person have? Of course, only beggars ask for food. I'm not a beggar, said Admirer number 1 self-righteously. Ha! Ha! This is too funny. Sigh. How did your parents give birth to such a top-notch child like you? Feng De laughed wildly without caring about his image. When everyone present heard number 1's words, even though their laughter was not as exaggerated as Feng De's, they still sneered softly. What are you laughing at? What's so funny? Bellowed number 1, a little angrily. He really didn't know what these people were laughing about. Humph. There were times when they couldn't laugh. With that, number 1 stormed back to his team. You can't even do such a small thing. You're really useless. Yao Qianqian was furious to see her most loyal admirer, number 1, return empty-handed. She raised her hand and slapped number 1 in the face. Qianqian, they're too bad. I said you wouldn't give it to me even if you wanted to eat it, number 1 complained as she covered her slapped face. She still looked aggrieved. A piece of trash is a piece of trash. I'll get it myself, Yao Qianqian said angrily. Humph. She didn't believe that she wouldn't get something to eat. For some reason, she just wanted to eat the food those people made, especially when she saw them surrounding the devastatingly beautiful woman like stars. The flames of jealousy in her heart burned. After saying that, Yao Qianqian walked directly to Leng Ruoxue and said with a smile, the food that sister and the others have is so fragrant. Please try it. With that, she reached out to take it, but before her hand could touch the food, it was knocked away by Leng Ruoxue's divine power. Little sister, what is the meaning of this? Yao Qianqian pretended to be puzzled. I've already said that Grandpa doesn't allow me to acknowledge random sisters, so please don't try to get close to me, Leng Ruoxue said without giving them any face. However, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Yao Qianqian's tolerance was quite strong. She had just made a fool of herself, but now she was actually hanging around in front of them as if nothing had happened. Ahem. At this moment, 2 coughs sounded. Leng Qingtian looked at his precious granddaughter with an aggrieved expression. Actually, he had wanted to say, my precious granddaughter. You're using your grandfather as a weapon again. However, he never had the chance. That's right. Miss Yao, we're not familiar with you, Feng De echoed. In fact, he quite admired Yao Qianqian. If it were any other woman, she would probably be too ashamed to face anyone after encountering such a thing. However, look at her. It was as if nothing had happened. Sigh. How strong was this person's tolerance? Women. They were definitely the most terrifying creatures in the world. They could not be provoked. That's right. Miss Yao, we're not familiar with you, Feng De echoed. In fact, he quite admired Yao Qianqian. If it were any other woman, she would probably be too ashamed to face anyone after encountering such a thing. However, look at her. It was as if nothing had happened. Sigh. How strong was this person's tolerance? Women. They were definitely the most terrifying creatures in the world. They could not be provoked. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M, Schwer, this Yao Qianqian is probably a big problem. Why don't we? Ling Qingtian made a gotcha gesture and whispered. And that Uncle Yao. He's definitely a huge disaster, Feng De added. You have to be calm. There are so many people here. We can't kill everyone else, right? Otherwise, news will definitely spread. We already have enough trouble. It's better to avoid trouble. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Ah. All right then. In any case, we didn't suffer any losses. However, what if the Yao family takes the initiative to provoke us? Feng De couldn't help but ask. As long as Yao Qianqian was in the Yao family's team, it was impossible not to find trouble with them. I'll agree at random. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Yes, they will probably set up camp here tonight, so everyone should be more vigilant, Feng De reminded them. Abnormality was evil. The Yao family's attitude was too abnormal. Yeah. They all nodded. After the meal, Cheng Wu and Song Di stayed outside while the others went into the tent. As for the ape, it was thrown into a tent because Feng De disliked it. Cheng Wu and Sung Di sat by the fire and chatted. From time to time, they secretly observed the various teams. Of course, they paid most attention to the Yao family's team. They flipped through the pages and stared into the night. Safe and sound. The next day, everyone continued on their way. However, after a few days, several teams actually took the same path. This situation gave Leng Ruoxue a headache. Chapter 971, The Depressed Yao Family, 3. After finding a place to set up camp and setting up the tent, Leng Ruoxue leaned on the freak and glanced at the other teams with her beautiful eyes, feeling helpless. Sigh. It was really inconvenient to do anything when she was followed like this. However, she could understand. Those people were mainly afraid that the Yao family would secretly attack them, so they felt that it would be safer to be with other teams. However, what about the Yao family? Little sister, is he your guard? At this moment, Yao Qianqian walked forward and pointed at the freak. Even though Leng Ruoxue had repeatedly ordered her not to call him that, Yao Qianqian acted as if she didn't hear it. As long as she came in front of them, she would still call him sister. What can I do for you, Miss Yao? Leng Ruoxue raised her eyelids and asked calmly. Looking at Yao Qianqian's lively appearance now, it seemed that the previous incident did not affect her much. She was indeed the daughter of a big family. Little sister, I think he's not bad. He's qualified to be my guard. Why don't you sell him to me? How about I offer 100 superior grade crystals? Yao Qianqian said self-righteously. 100 superior grade crystals. Leng Ruoxue smiled faintly and looked at Yao Qianqian as if she was looking at a joke. She couldn't help but wonder if Yao Qianqian had gone crazy because she had suffered too much shock. Yes. If he wasn't so good-looking, he wouldn't be worth so much money, Yao Qianqian explained. There were many people in the god realm and it was difficult to earn crystals, so she was very confident that the other party would be satisfied with the price she offered. Did you hear that? It's your face that helped you raise the price. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be worth 100 superior grade crystals. Leng Ruoxue caressed his handsome face and teased. Yes, there are too many people in the god realm, so no one is worth much. However, miss, don't sell me at this price, the freak begged, pretending to be afraid. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. "Don't worry, I won't sell you at this price," Len Ruoshua promised. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. If you think this price is too low, then I'll increase it by another 50 superior grade crystals. Yao Qianqian heard the two of them talking as if no one was around and made up her mind. After all, 150 superior grade crystals could buy more than a dozen guards in the god realm. However, she only wanted to buy the one who was concerned about the woman. 150. Len Ruoshua looked at Yao Qianqian like she was looking at a fool. "Yes, this price is not low. Sell him to me." Yao Qianqian pretended to be weak and begged. "No." Len Ruoshua said impatiently. To be honest, she was a little tired of being pestered for a few days. If she hadn't been waiting for the opportunity, she would have attacked long ago. Len Ruoshua, Yao Qianqian refused to give up and wanted to continue persuading Len Ruoshua, but she was interrupted by Len Ruoshua. "Miss Yao, if you don't understand human language, I'll say it again. I'm not selling." Len Ruoshua said impatiently. "Get lost." The freak was even more direct. He secretly sent the annoying Yao Qianqian flying. In an instant, the people present, who were secretly watching their situation, saw Yao Qianqian fly up like a kite. As for how she flew, no one saw it. Moreover, seeing that Yao Qianqian had already flown out of their sight, they could not help but laugh. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and look for third miss," Uncle Yao said with a headache. He could not help but complain in his heart. He had already said that he would let Qianqian endure for a few days. Why couldn't Qianqian be more obedient? Yes. The Yao family received the order and dispersed, each running in a direction to find someone. After a long time, when everyone had finished their dinner, they saw Yao Qianqian limping back, supported by someone. Everyone immediately understood. Some couldn't help but think that it was a pity that the Yao family had found her so quickly. However, they wouldn't help but wonder where had she fallen into that resulted in such a sorry state. At this moment, Yao Qianqian's clothes were tattered and there were a few black spikes stuck in some places. She also smelled bad. She seemed to have fallen into the nest of some beast. Everyone suppressed their laughter and guessed. "Ha! I say, Yao Qianqian, what's wrong with you? Did you get intimate with a wild boar?" Feng De looked at Yao Qianqian's sorry state and laughed maniacally. Hee hee. Others might be afraid of the Yao family, but he was not. Hearing Feng De ask what many people were thinking, those who wanted to laugh but did not dare to laugh too openly could only turn their heads and laugh secretly. However, their constantly shaking shoulders revealed their thoughts. "Damn it, shut up!" Yao Qianqian roared angrily. Even though she was in a sorry state, she was not very seriously injured. However, the smell on her body was so bad that she could not stand it. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Miss Yao, don't be angry. We're really curious where you flew to. Feng De continued to ask fearlessly. "It's none of your business." Yao Qianqian roared angrily. Then, with the help of the person beside her, she crawled into her tent and did not appear in front of everyone the entire night. "I'm sorry to have embarrassed myself in front of everyone," Uncle Yao said with a face full of shame. Sigh. The Yao family's reputation had been completely lost in the Phoenix Cry Mountain. This also strengthened his will. These people had to die. Otherwise, their Yao family would become the laughing stock of the entire god realm. "Uncle Yao, where did your niece fall to?" Feng De continued to ask, as if he would not stop if he could not get an answer. Hee hee. Sorry to disturb everyone's rest. Uncle Yao did not answer Feng Da's question. After saying that, he returned to his tent. Sigh. How could he answer this? He could not possibly say that his niece had fallen into a wild boar's den and was chased into the bushes by a wild boar in heat. Now, just thinking about that scene made him feel a little incredulous. This was too coincidental. The rest of the Yao family also went into their tents to avoid being questioned. Chapter 972, The Depressed Yao Family, 4. However, someone walked a little slower and was pulled into the bushes by Feng De. This person was none other than Number 1. What do you want? Number 1 looked at the two people in front of him and clenched his clothes tightly in fear. His body trembled like a fallen leaf in the wind. We don't want to do anything. We just want to understand the situation from you. Don't be afraid. Feng De comforted him with a smile. Fuck, he scared this guy. He made it seem like they were going to do something to him. I don't know anything. Don't ask me. Number 1 was very afraid. In fact, he knew what the two people in front of him wanted to ask, but they had all been warned not to tell anyone about this. Okay. We won't ask. Then tell us yourself, okay? Feng De coaxed as if he was coaxing a child. I can't talk about it. Don't make me do it, begged Number 1. Boo-hoo. Why was he so unlucky? Why was he the one being pulled? Then say whatever you can, Feng De said with a look that said, we won't force you. Really? Number 1 sounded skeptical, and she wondered to herself if they could be so kind. Of course it's true. It's definitely more real than pearls. Feng De patted his chest and promised. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Calm after hearing Feng De's guarantee, Number 1 did not completely believe him. Then, he turned his gaze to Lin Yuan, who had not said a word. His meaning was self-evident. I promise not to force you either, Lin Yuan said grudgingly. Then I can only say a little. After that, you have to let me leave. Number 1 started giving out his conditions. Yes. Feng De and Lin Yuan nodded in unison. They thought to themselves, it's up to us to decide if we want to finish talking. Hee. This stupid little Red Riding Hood has fallen for their tricks. Yes. Feng De and Lin Yuan nodded in unison. They thought to themselves, it's up to us to decide if we want to finish talking. Hee. This stupid little Red Riding Hood has fallen for their tricks. However, perhaps because he was too excited or because he had found someone to talk to, Number 1, who had been shy, became more and more agitated. In the end, he simply let go completely and spat out everything he knew, including this one. What was more, he had secretly recorded what had happened with a memory crystal. He had wanted to use it when he was depressed, but without realizing it, he had willingly handed it over to Feng De naturally. Feng De would not take away someone else's favor. After making a copy of the information recorded on the crystal, he returned it to Number 1. He even kindly reminded him to be careful and not be discovered. His words actually moved Number 1 to tears and she almost cried. After obtaining the information he wanted, Feng De knocked Number 1 out and fed him a pill before leaving with Lin Yuan. When they returned to the tent, Cheng Wu and the others were waiting for them. Well? Did you get it out of him? Cheng Wu asked curiously. Hee. Of course. Feng De said proudly. Not only that. That guy even confessed to 8 generations of his ancestors, Lin Yuan said speechlessly. In the end, the guy was extremely cooperative. He answered whatever they asked unless he didn't know. Ha! That boy's got some sense, said Song Di with satisfaction. Oh, right, take a look. It's exciting, Feng De said with a wicked smile. He and Lin Yuan had already seen the information on it and almost laughed out loud. Okay. Everyone took the memory crystal and passed it around. After reading it, Cheng Wu, who was laughing the most exaggeratedly, fell to the ground. Hee. This memory crystal is really a good thing. Unfortunately, only the God realm has it. After laughing enough, Cheng Wu said with a regretful expression. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Calm, there are very few memory crystal mines in the god realm, so ordinary families can't afford such luxury goods, Len Ruoxue explained with a faint smile. The memory crystal in Feng Da's hand was given to them by their ancestor. It was said to be a reward for his refining. Miss, it would be great if Bal woke up. That way, it can help us find the crystal mine, Feng Da said expectantly. Yes, but both baby and it have been sleeping for a long time. They should be waking up soon. Len Ruoxue guessed secretly. She didn't know what changes the two little things would have after waking up this time. She was looking forward to it. Miss, I heard from that guy that the Yao family's uncle wants to kill us all. Should we inform the other teams? Feng Da asked. Of course. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a loss if only we knew? Our show isn't that good. Len Ruoxue chuckled. Then I'll go find them now, said Feng Da. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to leave the tent. Tell them tomorrow. It doesn't matter. The Yao family won't arrive so soon. Everyone should rest early today. Len Ruoxue said and brought everyone into the bracelet. The next day, when Feng Da, Lin Yuan, Chen Wu, and Song Di each went to the teams to tell them about this, the leaders of the two teams immediately turned pale with fear. What should we do? We can't afford to offend the Yao family. Why don't we leave Phoenix Cry Mountain quickly? It's all your fault. If you hadn't provoked the Yao family, we wouldn't have been killed. One of the leaders said incoherently. He was so anxious that he kept spinning on the ground. Look at you. Why were you so enthusiastic when you were watching the show? Now that you're in trouble, you want to be a coward. Humph. No way, Feng Da said with disdain. Then what do you want? We're just a small family. The Yao family really can't afford to provoke us. The leader cried. I'll give you two choices. One is to die immediately without waiting for the Yao family to come. I'll send you on your way now. The other is to join forces with us to deal with the Yao family. Choose. Feng Da said coldly. In fact, they did not care about the lives of these teams at all. It was not necessary to join forces with these people. The reason why they dragged these teams into the water was because they did not want these people to betray them. Chapter 973, The Depressed Yao Family, 5, the leader was depressed. How was he supposed to choose? If they didn't join forces, they would die now. However, if they joined forces, they would probably not be a match for the Yao family even if they joined forces. After all, they had already returned to their families to find help. Sigh. No matter what, Hengzuo would still die. Then let's join forces. The leader said helplessly. Actually, the reason why he was so unconfident was mainly because he did not believe in the strength of Feng Da and the others. After all, the Yao family was a huge existence in the god realm. They could not bite them. A wise man knows his place. Then inform your team members to be on guard. Well, stay here for the time being, Feng Da reminded. Oh, okay, the leader replied. At this moment, he still felt unreal. Boo-hoo. They were about to become enemies with the Yao family. His heart trembled at the thought. However, he also knew that the Yao family would definitely not let them off. Even if they ran away now, they would probably bring disaster to the family. Therefore, they could only join forces. Then I'll go back first. Remember, don't look afraid. Otherwise, the Yao family will be suspicious. Feng Da reminded him again. I understand, the leader said miserably. Boo-hoo. It was impossible not to be afraid. Sigh. Feng Da looked at the leader and sighed helplessly before turning to leave. 3 days later. Uncle Yao was puzzled when he saw that Feng Da and the others had not left. Not only that, but the other teams also seemed to have made an appointment. No one left, which made him, who had always been cautious, suspicious. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Calm with a heart full of questions, Uncle Yao came to Fengde and asked with a smile and a little curiosity, "Why aren't you walking forward? With your strength, there's no danger in Phoenix Cry Mountain." The reason why he asked Fengde was that other than Fengde, no one else liked to talk to him. "We're tired, so we want to rest here," Fengde said perfunctorily, but he was complaining in his heart. "Uncle Yao, when are you going to catch us all? We've been waiting for a few days. Your Yao family's speed is not good. We're tired, so we want to rest here," Fengde said perfunctorily, but he was complaining in his heart. "Uncle Yao, when are you going to catch us all? We've been waiting for a few days. Your Yao family's speed is not good." "No," Fengde said flatly. "I heard that there's a strange flower in the mountain stream of Phoenix Cry Mountain. It can cure all kinds of poisons and illnesses. Many people seem to have rushed there. If you stay there, the flower will be snatched away by others," Uncle Yao reminded them kindly. "Oh. We're here to visit Phoenix Cry Mountain. We're not interested in those flowers. However, if you want to get those flowers, hurry up and go on your way. There won't be any at night," Fengde reminded him and thought to himself. Did this old fellow want them to go to the mountain stream? Could it be that he had set up an ambush there? No wonder there had been no movement. In fact, Fengde's guess was not entirely correct. Uncle Yao did want them to go to the mountain stream, but he did not set up any ambush there because he was too confident in his family's strength. He had only arranged with his family to attack there and catch them all in one fell swoop. He. I'm only bringing the younger generation of the family to train. Let others snatch those flowers and grass," Uncle Yao said awkwardly. Then, he felt that he was asking for trouble, so he turned around and left dejectedly. After Uncle Yao turned around and left, Fengde went to complain to Leng Ruoxue. "Miss, that old thing wanted to trick us into going to the mountain stream. I didn't fall for it," Fengde said proudly. He. Are we going?" Fengde asked again. Actually, this was the main reason he came to look for Leng Ruoxue. After all, being tricked was different from taking the initiative. Since they've already spoken, wouldn't we be giving them no face if we don't go? However, we can't leave immediately. Well, stay for 2 days and go there the day after tomorrow." Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment and said. "All right, I'll inform the others." After saying that, Fengde turned around and left. After Fengde left, the freak looked at Leng Ruoxue with sparkling eyes and said dotingly, "Shuer, why are you so cute?" "Ha! How am I bad? I'm such a kind child. Don't slander me." Leng Ruoxue pretended to scold. "I was wrong," Freak said. "My Shuer is the kindest child in the world." Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Calm, yes, that's more like it, Leng Ruoxue said in satisfaction. Then, she started eating the freak's tender tofu. 2 days later. Just as Uncle Yao changed his plan and planned to let his clansmen come to their camp to capture these people in one fell swoop, Leng Ruoxue and the others suddenly moved. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue and the others were about to walk out of their sight, Uncle Yao, who only reacted after a while, quickly ran forward and blocked their way. He panted and said, "Where are you planning to go?" He had already got his clansmen come here. How could these people leave? Uncle Yao was furious. No. He could not let them go. "We plan to go to the mountain stream you mentioned. If we're lucky, we might be able to snatch the strange flower you mentioned," Fengde explained with a smile. Seeing how anxious Uncle Yao was, he was already laughing in his heart. "It's been a few days. I'm afraid that the flowers have already been obtained by others. It's useless for you to go. It's better not to waste time," Uncle Yao advised. "You're wrong. If we didn't see for ourselves, how could we have given up?" Fengde sighed and said helplessly. "It's really gone. Why would I lie to you? Uncle Yao said angrily. He was so anxious that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. That's hard to say. What if you want to keep it for yourself? Feng De said with a look of disbelief, and the others did not believe him either. Miss, let's go. Feng De said. Okay. Leng Ruoxua nodded. Then, everyone ignored the Yao family's eldest uncle's resentful gaze and headed to their destination, the mountain stream of Phoenix Cry Mountain. As the Yao family's eldest uncle watched everyone leave, he was so angry that his face alternated between white and black. When the Yao family members rushed over to meet up with the Yao family's eldest uncle, they realized that there was no one else here except for the Yao family. The furious leader scolded the Yao family's eldest uncle again. Immediately, the Yao family members gathered together and headed towards the mountain stream. However, when they rushed to the mountain stream, they found it empty. Where are they? Didn't they come to the mountain stream? The leader of the Yao family roared angrily. Fuck. They had flown for several days before arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain. They had wanted to quickly settle the matter and report back to the family, but who knew that after arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain, they would be tortured here and there. They didn't even see the shadow of the enemy. This couldn't help but make him even angrier. Where are they? Didn't they come to the mountain stream? The leader of the Yao family roared angrily. Fuck. They had flown for several days before arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain. They had wanted to quickly settle the matter and report back to the family, but who knew that after arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain, they would be tortured here and there. They didn't even see the shadow of the enemy. This couldn't help but make him even angrier. I asked you a question. Didn't you say they came to the mountain stream? The leader looked at the Yao family's eldest uncle and questioned him. We're here. Maybe we're lost. Uncle Yao said with a careful smile. In fact, he was extremely depressed. Boo-hoo. For the first time, he realized how difficult it was to get rid of an opponent. How could this be? He couldn't understand. Lost? Bullshit. Phoenix Cry Mountain is only a small place. I won't get lost even if I close my eyes. How can so many of them get lost? The leader was furious. He really couldn't figure out where those people had gone. Even though there was more than one way to get to the mountain stream, there was only one main road coming here, which was the one they had just walked on. Therefore, he was very sure that those people would not take the side road. That would be too illogical. However, Leng Ruoxua and the others' actions could not be considered as normal. Therefore, in fact, he had guessed correctly. This was because Leng Ruoxua and the others had indeed taken an extremely small path. Moreover, along the way, Leng Ruoxua and the others were still talking and laughing, as if they were really here to play in the mountains. They were not in a hurry to rush to the mountain stream at all. However, while they were not in a hurry, someone was. This road is too difficult. At this speed, how long will it take to reach the mountain stream? When they were almost a third of the way down the path, someone started complaining. Oh. I only found out today that someone is so eager to die, Feng De said calmly. Chapter 974, You're Too Smelly, 1, I didn't mean it that way, the man explained quietly, listening to Feng De. Oh. Then what do you mean? Feng De raised his eyebrows slightly and asked with a faint smile. Even though he was smiling, the other party felt goosebumps all over. The man knew better than to say another word. All of you, listen carefully. We will definitely go to the mountain stream. However, we are not in a hurry. If any of you are in a hurry, you can go first. However, if anyone wants to get cold feet, even if the Yao family does not destroy you, I will not let you off. Feng De said coldly. At this moment, he was like a demon from hell, making people shiver. We want, and we're not in a hurry, one of the leaders quickly said. As soon as he finished speaking, the others echoed him. Oh my God. They had long known that they had boarded a pirate ship, so they had never thought that they would be able to get off. However, there were people who did not know what was good for them and wanted to pluck the fur from the tiger's mouth. They did not even look at which of these people they could afford to provoke. The morale of the army and the hearts of the people cannot be scattered. If anyone says another word of nonsense, don't blame me for being merciless. Feng De threatened. We want, the men in those teams promised quickly. That's good. Let's continue on our way. Keep your mouths shut. I don't have a good temper. Don't anger me because of something I said. Feng De warned. This path was indeed not easy to walk on. Not only was the path narrow, but it was also covered in vines and brambles. It was no wonder that these people, who were usually pampered, were not used to walking on it. However, they had to walk even if they were not used to it. Feng De could not help but think to himself. Everyone continued walking forward. No one dared to complain any more along the way. When Feng De saw that his deterrence had worked, he was already laughing in his heart. Hee hee. This feeling of bullying was really good. Along the way, Len Ruoxue and the others walked slowly. When they arrived at the mountain stream, it was already 2 days later. For the past 2 days, they had been walking and stopping. They were all in good spirits. However, Uncle Yao and the others, who were glaring at them not far away, were much more haggard than them. Eldest Uncle Yao and the others were dressed in messy and wrinkled clothes. Their faces were pale, and there were big dark circles under their eyes. However, their eyes were burning with hatred, as if they wanted to skin Len Ruoxue and the others alive. In fact, the reason why they were so inhuman was mainly because the leader of the Yao family had scolded them when he had nothing to do for the past 2 days. They did not dare to retort and could only endure it. The anger in their hearts also accumulated. As time passed, after seeing Len Ruoxue and the others, they all surged up. Yo, what's wrong with the Yao family's uncle? It's only been 2 days since we last met. Could it be that he encountered some irresistible force that caused him to become like this? Feng De teased with a smile. You. Why did you only arrive now? Uncle Yao pointed at Feng De and the others, trembling with anger. Boo-hoo. Because of these people, he had been scolded so much in the past 2 days. However, look at their mental state, and look at his own. Sigh. How sad. This. I don't understand the Yao family's uncle. Our feet are on us. We can arrive whenever we want, right? It doesn't seem to be any of your business. Why are you so angry? Feng De said innocently. Well, I'm just afraid that if you arrive too late, that strange flower will be snatched away by someone else. Uncle Yao wiped the sweat off his forehead. Damn it, he was too impulsive. Oh. From what you're saying, the flowers are still there. Feng De asked with a smile. Of course it's here. If I hadn't been watching, the flowers would have been snatched away by someone else. Uncle Yao said with an expression that said, you guys have to thank me. It seems like we have to thank you properly, Feng De said seriously. There's no need to thank me. I still think I hit it off with you guys. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't let them watch. Uncle Yao immediately took advantage of the situation. Yes, there's fate between us. Where's the Yao family's uncle, that strange flower? Let me see it. Feng De chuckled. It's below the mountain stream. We have to go down to see it, the Yao uncle said. Their people were already lying in ambush below. As soon as these people went down, they would definitely kill them all. Oh. There's no hurry. It's getting late. Let's rest first and go down to take a look. Feng De deliberately thought for a moment before saying. It's getting late. It's not even noon yet. Uncle Yao roared angrily. He was even more furious. Fuck, what kind of person was this? He actually said that it was getting late during noon. It's getting late. We should take a nap, Feng De said matter-of-factly. You want to take an afternoon nap? Uncle Yao's eyes widened in disbelief. In all his life, he had never heard of anyone taking an afternoon nap. That's right. Feng De nodded with a smile. Are you guys going to sleep too? Uncle Yao was a little angry and pointed at the other teams that came with Leng Ruoxue and the others. Yes. The people in the teams nodded in unison. They did not dare to not sleep when this fiend said to sleep. Moreover, they were already used to Feng Da's ability to lie through his teeth. However, they were quite impressed by Feng De. He could actually make this smiling tiger like Uncle Yao so angry that he stomped his feet. Sigh. This was also a skill. Thinking of this, they miraculously felt much better. After all, watching others suffer was better than them. Hee, the sun will be up soon. Everyone, quickly set up the tent. Then, have a good rest after lunch. Feng De said loudly to everyone. Aye, the men said in unison, and set about setting up their own tents. After the tent was set up, everyone started to make a fire and cook. The entire set of movements was as smooth as flowing water, making Uncle Yao dumbfounded. Schwer, when are you going to the mountain stream to deal with those guys? The freak was hugging Schwer beside the fire and asked curiously. Oh. The Yao family had probably waited long enough down there. Chapter 975, You're too smelly, too, anyway, I'm not in a hurry. Leng Ruoxue smiled evilly. Hee. If you're not anxious, someone is, Freak teased. They're anxious, well rest, Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Alright. As the 24 filial fiancé, the Freak naturally did whatever Schwer wanted. After Leng Ruoxue and the others finished eating, they went straight into the tent to take an afternoon nap. As for the angry Uncle Yao, he was ignored by everyone. Actually, Leng Ruoxue and the others weren't really taking a nap. They just didn't want Uncle Yao to get what he wanted. Why did they have to act according to the other party's plan? If they wanted to kill them, they had to follow their plan, and their plan was to delay. When the other party couldn't take it anymore and took the initiative to jump up, they would do it. They wouldn't foolishly run down the mountain stream and be at the mercy of others. However, the other party's intelligence was nothing much. They only knew how to wait for an opportunity. In fact, in Leng Ruoxue's opinion, they should take the initiative to attack and surprise her. Eldest Uncle Yao stood outside Leng Ruoxue and the others' tent. The anger in his heart kept rising, and his eyes glared fiercely at the tent, wishing he could glare through the tent of the people he hated the most. Unfortunately, the people inside the tent seemed to be enjoying the show. They chatted as they observed the situation outside through a small window that was open in the tent. Miss, could this Uncle Yao be furious? He's already so old, but he's still so angry. Lu Tao was a little speechless. Don't worry, he won't. That guy can take it. This blow is nothing, Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Hee. I wonder how many days the people below the mountain stream can endure. It should be very cold down there. Feng De said with a wicked smile. It's definitely cold, but I'm more certain that they didn't bring much food, so we just have to stall for time. When they can't stand the hunger and jump up, it'll be time for us to take action, Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. Schwer, you're so bad. Whoever becomes your opponent will be unlucky. Empty sighed. I can't help it. I'm lazy. I always like to use the simplest methods to achieve the greatest effect, Leng Ruoxue said proudly. Actually, it was not necessary to fight to deal with a person, nor was it necessary to kill the other party to vent her anger. In fact, she felt that killing the enemy was too easy on the other party. Therefore, if she had to choose between killing or not, she would rather choose the latter. Sigh. Poor Yao family, why did they have to provoke a little demon like you? Wu Qing teased. Who knows? I never like to cause trouble, but trouble always comes to me. Sigh. Leng Ruoxu's beautiful face was filled with helplessness and innocence. By the way, we won't leave the tent until tonight. Why don't I send you into the space? Leng Ruoxu said again. They couldn't possibly squeeze so many people into one tent. Miss, I'll stay outside. Feng De suggested. He had thrown the ape into another tent, so he had to prevent the monkey from running over to find him. Alright, I'll bring them in then. Leng Ruoxu nodded and disappeared from the tent with everyone. Leng Ruoxu and the others only walked out of the tent in the evening. After they went out, they naturally cooked dinner. After dinner, Leng Ruoxu and the others wanted to sleep again. When Uncle Yao saw this, he quickly stopped them. Wait. Eldest Uncle Yao stopped Leng Ruoxu and the others. Uncle Yao, what's the matter? If there's nothing important, don't delay our sleep, Feng De said unhappily. Damn it, you still want to sleep? Aren't you going to see that strange flower? Uncle Yao widened his eyes and said resentfully. Damn it, were these people the reincarnation of pigs? Why weren't they eating or sleeping? He was so aggrieved. Because he had not eaten anything since noon. He was also hungry. With the Yao family's uncle watching over us, we're not in a hurry. We can take a look after we rest, Feng De said gratefully. Uncle Yao, you've worked hard. Feng De added. With that, Feng De was about to enter the tent with everyone when he was stopped again. Wait, Uncle Yao shouted again. Uncle Yao, calm down. I can hear you. There's no need to be so loud. Feng De was a little speechless. It seemed that this old man was really forced into a corner. He was becoming less and less like the calm and smiling wolf in sheep's clothing they had met earlier on. Don't you want to sleep? Why are you all hiding in the same tent? Uncle Yao roared angrily. In fact, he had wanted to ask this question at noon, but the other party did not give him a chance. Therefore, he had to ask the reason no matter what. Can't I? Feng De asked. Of course not. Men and women shouldn't be so close together. You have to pay attention to your reputation. Uncle Yao blurted out without thinking. Well. This reason was something he had thought of at the last minute. Uncle of the Yao family, you're thinking too much. This tent belongs to our young miss, so as her subordinates, we have the right to protect her safety. As for difference between men and women you mentioned, are you still a virgin? Feng De asked with a smile, his face filled with curiosity. What do you mean? Uncle Yao was confused. Wasn't he talking about them? Why was he involved? Since you pay so much attention to gender differences, you probably haven't entered a woman's room before. Feng De guessed with a smile. I'm doing this for your own good. You have to pay attention to your reputation, Uncle Yao said earnestly. In fact, he mainly suspected that these people were using sleep as an excuse and were secretly discussing some bad ideas. Therefore, he wanted to ask them clearly. However, who knew that this fellow would actually change the topic to him? It was really infuriating. Uncle Yao, do you think safety or reputation is the impact more important? Feng De asked instead of answering. Chapter 976, You're Too Smelly, 3, Uncle Yao was at a loss for words. Even though he wanted to say that the impact was important, if he really said that, he wouldn't even be able to get past himself. In this world, there was nothing more important than his master's safety. Uncle Yao, I understand how you feel. My condolences. Feng De patted Uncle Yao's shoulder and comforted him. Then, he gave everyone a look and they went straight into the tent. Condolences? Again. Damn it, no one in their Yao family had died, so why was he mourning? Uncle Yao was so angry that he stomped his feet. Unfortunately, the other party had already closed the tent tightly. No matter how angry he was outside, the people inside ignored him. For several days in a row, Leng Ruoxue and the others ate and slept. They woke up and ate again, not doing anything else. Moreover, not only them, but the other teams also did the same, making Uncle Yao and the others almost go crazy. In the Yao family's tent, eldest Uncle Yao sat in the corner with a dark expression. Looking at his ugly expression, the younger members of the Yao family did not dare to speak. However, Yao Qianqian did not have that concern. "Uncle, it's been almost a week. When will they go down the mountain stream?" Yao Qianqian could not help but ask. "Who should I ask?" Uncle Yao snapped. "Uncle, hurry them up," Yao Qianqian said anxiously. She had stayed here long enough. If she didn't want to see what would happen to them, she would have returned to the Yao family long ago. "Hurry them? Who do you think I am? Will they listen to me?" Uncle Yao was even angrier when he heard Yao Qianqian's words. Humph. What an ignorant brat. She only knew how to urge him to do this and that. Why didn't she think about it? If not for her, would these things have happened? What a troublemaker. Now, he was extremely tired of his niece. Then what should we do? We can't wait forever, Yao Qianqian said gloomily. Whoever has the ability, go ahead and urge them. In any case, I don't have a choice. Uncle Yao looked like he had given up on himself. Now, he didn't even dare to go down the mountain stream. Otherwise, he would be scolded again. "I'll try," Yao Qianqian suddenly said confidently. "All right, go," Uncle Yao said coldly without even looking up. "I'll get go then." Yao Qian stood as if she were a fighter and went out of the tent, but before long, she returned alone, crestfallen. "How is it?" Uncle Yao said knowingly. "I didn't see anyone. I went to knock on the tent, but they actually pretended not to hear me. I'm so angry." Yao Qianqian growled angrily. In the next few days, when Leng Ruoxue and the others came out of the tent to eat, Yao Qianqian would approach them, wanting to find a chance to talk to them. Unfortunately, before she could talk, she would always feel uncomfortable in her stomach and had to relieve herself. When she came back after relieving herself, the person she wanted to talk to entered the tent again. This fact could not help but make her angry. Another few days passed. Leng Ruoxue and the others gathered in the garden in the bracelet. "Miss, it's been half a month, but the other party is still quite tolerant," Fengde said in disbelief. At the same time, he didn't understand why the other party insisted on attacking under the mountain stream. If they didn't go down, the other party actually didn't know how to come up. Wasn't this a little too persistent? Calm down. If I'm not wrong, they should jump out in a day or two. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. "Have you finished your preparations?" Leng Ruoxue asked again. Hee hee. "Don't worry, miss. We're just waiting for the silly rabbit to take the bait," Fengde said with a smile. After all that, they were the ones waiting for the rabbit to bite. "Fengde, go out and inform the other teams to be on high alert for the next 2 days, Leng Ruoxue instructed after some thought. "Okay," Fengde replied. Then, everyone discussed the details. They had to capture the other party in one fell swoop. Otherwise, it would be a disaster if even one of them escaped. The next day, when Leng Ruoxue and the others were enjoying their dinner, they suddenly felt several powerful pressures surging up from the bottom of the stream. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others understood. Hee hee. The silly rabbit is coming. However, in contrast to their excitement, the other teams were a little terrified and uneasy. After all, the Yao family had always been a huge existence in their hearts that they could not shake. And what they were about to do now was called ant biting an elephant. Of course they were ants. God damn it, who took a dump here? A roar entered Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears. When they heard it, they all laughed in unison. Ha! Fengde and the others laughed so hard that their stomachs hurt. Were these people from the Yao family here to be funny? Why was it that they were already eating shit as soon as they came up, before they even had the chance to show off their might? It was really too funny. Stop laughing. If you laugh, it'll kill you, someone said angrily. This person was none other than the leader of the Yao family. At this moment, he was standing in front of the Yao family's tent in a rage. His clothes were covered in sticky stuff and he was emitting a foul smell. Clearly, he was the one who had trouble with the shit. Will you let us go if we don't laugh? Fengde asked curiously. Humph. You're all dead whether you laugh or not, the leader said. In his eyes, Fengde and the others were already dead. In that case, what does it matter if we laugh or not? The final outcome would be the same. Fengde shrugged and said indifferently. If you don't laugh, perhaps I can give you a quick death if I'm in a good mood, the leader said kindly. Thank you. By the way, didn't you want to know who took a dump? Fengde smiled evilly. Who is it? The leader asked angrily. Humph. That shitter could forget about a quick death. It's your Yao family's third miss, Yao Qianqian. Fengde said in amusement. Hee hee. Was this called keeping the goodies within the family? Chapter 977, You're Too Smelly, 4, Nonsense. Don't slander me. Yao Qianqian immediately shouted after hearing Fengde's words. Her beautiful face was distorted with anger. Miss Yao, I'm not spouting nonsense. Have you forgotten that your stomach hasn't been well recently? That's why you have been relieving yourself nearby. Fengde reminded her. So it was you. The anger of the leader of the Yao family rose to its peak, and his cold eyes burned with anger. Old ancestor, it's not me. Don't listen to his nonsense. Yao Qianqian firmly denied it. Otherwise, this old ancestor would definitely not let her off. Boo-hoo. Miss Yao, do you want me to take out the memory crystal and broadcast the location where you relieved yourself to prove that what I said is true? Fengde smiled evilly. You pervert, you actually, Yao Qianqian was so angry that she could not speak. Why? Are you feeling guilty, Miss Yao? Fengde chuckled. That's enough. All of you deserve to die. None of you can leave this place alive today, the leader of the Yao family roared. Then, he turned around and stared at Yao Qianqian. I'll deal with you when we get back. Old ancestor, Yao Qianqian's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She felt that her world was dark. Boo-hoo. How could this be? Kid, you were the one who laughed the loudest just now. Let's start with you. The leader of the Yao family pointed at Fengde. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm, I won't fight you, Fengde refused, shaking his head. What? Are you afraid? The leader of the Yao family narrowed his eyes and said disdainfully. Humph. So he was a coward. I'm not afraid. You smell too bad. I'm afraid that it'll be stained with Miss Yao's shit, Fengde said angrily. Then, he imitated the leader and sized him up with narrowed eyes. The man in front of him was about 50 years old. He was ordinary looking, not tall, and slightly thin. However, he was much stronger than him, so he was not stupid. How could he fight with the other party? Damn it, die. The leader of the Yao family was completely furious after hearing Fengde's words. Then, he attacked. A yellow bolt of lightning flew towards Fengde. It was extremely fast and instantly arrived in front of Fengde. Even though Fengde's face revealed a look of panic, his body slowly dodged it. Then, Fengde ran around the Yao family's tent. Moreover, as he ran, he muttered, "Don't kill me. I'm so scared. Damn it, stop right there." The leader of the Yao family was furious. He had fought countless battles with others, but he had never met such a shameless person. How could he attack? I'll lose face if I stop just because you tell me to. Besides, I'm not stupid. I won't stand there and let you hit me. Feng De replied as he ran. He did not forget to take a bite of the rabbit leg that he had been holding in his hand. The fragrance of the rabbit's leg blew into the nose of the leader of the Yao family along with the breeze. The rich smell even covered the stench on his body. He, who was already muscular, was even hungrier when he smelled the fragrance. Just like that, Feng De ran in front while he chased after him. Moreover, just as he was about to catch up to Feng De pulled away. The leader of the Yao family was furious seeing this situation. Damn it, he didn't believe he couldn't catch an elementary god. If word got out, he'd have no face left on divine continent. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He chased after Feng De faster and faster. However, as his speed increased, Feng Da's speed increased. Unknowingly, he was brought away from the mountain stream by Feng De. Miss, should we attack? Cheng Wu asked softly when he could no longer see Feng De. Yes, let's do it. Leng Ruoxua nodded. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm with Leng Ruoxua's order, everyone surrounded the Yao family. What do you want? Uncle Yao asked, pretending to be calm. For some reason, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what. Ha! The Yao family's uncle. Of course we have to do what you want to do to us. Cheng Wu reminded him with a naughty smile. How dare you? How dare you provoke our Yao family? The Yao family will not let you off, Uncle Yao threatened. In fact, he was very uneasy. He had a bad feeling. Uncle of the Yao family, let's change to a new term. This is too cliché. I'm tired of hearing it, Cheng Wu said. You, Uncle Yao was furious. You haven't said a complete sentence for a long time. Stop talking nonsense with them. Do it. Leng Ruoxua said impatiently. Sure. Everyone in Qinggu was excited to hear about a fight. Then, they each found an opponent and started fighting. This time, in order to catch them all in one fell swoop, the Yao family had sent nearly 200 people. Therefore, after they added the other teams to fight each other, the additional people naturally belonged to Leng Ruoxua and the freak. Catch this woman first and leave the man to me, Yao Qianqian said. Yao Qianqian and dozens of Yao family members surrounded Leng Ruoxua and the freak. Moreover, in their eyes, the two people trapped in the middle were already meat on their chopping board, so they naturally had to let them slaughter them. Freak, did you hear that? Leng Ruoxua asked with a light smile. Yes, leave these people to me. Rest, Freak said considerately. I'm not tired. I want to meet Miss Yao personally. Leng Ruo smiled, but when she looked at Yao Qianqian, the smile in her eyes turned cold. Alright, I'll leave Yao Qianqian to you. I'll deal with the others, the Freak said dotingly. Yes. Leng Ruoxua nodded. In an instant, the Freak's figure was as fast as lightning. Before the other party could react, he was already in front of him. Black divine power was released from his hand. In a few breaths, the Yao family members surrounding him and Shuer were tied up like dumplings. Chapter 978, You're Too Smelly, 5. Immediately after, the sound of fists hitting flesh suddenly sounded. Cheng Wu and the others, who were fighting with their opponents, knew that Commander Yi was beating them up again. This also motivated their fighting spirit. Therefore, it didn't take long for them to imitate the demon and start beating him up. After watching the battle between the Freak and Cheng Wu, Leng Ruoxua turned her gaze to Yao Qianqian, who was also dumbfounded. Miss Yao, it's our turn now, Leng Ruoxua said with a light smile. To be honest, she didn't plan to attack the Yao family. Unfortunately, not only did they not appreciate her kindness, but they even set a trap for them. In that case, if she didn't help them, wouldn't it be unsatisfactory? Therefore, she could only force herself. You're not my match, Yao Qianqian said arrogantly. In her eyes, Leng Ruoxue was only a mystic god, so she didn't take her seriously at all. Miss Yao, rank doesn't mean everything. Look at your Yao family. Most of them are stronger than my subordinates, but do they have any advantage? Leng Ruoxue said calmly. That doesn't mean anything. You and your subordinates won't be smug for long. Yao Qianqian said disapprovingly. After all, she was still very confident in the strength of her clansmen. Looks like Miss Yao is the type who holds out hope until faced with grim reality. In that case, let's talk with our strength. Leng Ruoxue didn't waste her breath and directly attacked. Fire Dragon Dance. As soon as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, a fire dragon more than 100 meters long and thicker than a bucket flickered with a dazzling red light and pounced at Yao Qianqian. Liar! This can't be the dance of the fire dragons. Yao Qianqian looked at the huge fire dragon in disbelief. In fact, the reason why she liked to wear red clothes was not only because she was eye-catching, but also because she had the fire attribute. Therefore, she could use the fire dragon dance. However, her fire dragon looked malnourished compared to this fire dragon. Whatever. Leng Ruoxue couldn't be bothered with her. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm while they were talking, Leng Ruoxue's fire dragon had already flown in front of Yao Qianqian. Caught off guard, Yao Qianqian could not react in time and was surrounded by the fire dragon. A few seconds later, the fire dragon left leisurely. The clothes on Yao Qianqian's body were also melted by the high temperature of the fire dragon. A charred woman appeared in front of everyone immediately. Ah! Yao Qian's scream came again, deafening everyone. What's there to scream about? Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. The fire dragon that was deliberately teasing Yao Qianqian also flew back to its master's side, looking for comfort. What's there to scream about? Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. The fire dragon that was deliberately teasing Yao Qianqian also flew back to its master's side, looking for comfort. Miss Yao, it's only a divine dragon. You actually scolded it. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh. Attracted by the sharp cry, the people who had already ended the battle turned their gazes to them. Those who hadn't ended couldn't help but pause. That pervert is you. Yao Qianqian said hatefully. At this moment, her gaze towards Leng Ruoxue was filled with undisguised hatred. Miss Yao, we're all women. What do you have that I don't have? Do you think I'm interested in your body? Leng Ruoxue mocked. Alas! Yao Qianqian's princess illness was really serious. Did she really think that everyone wanted to see her red body? Otherwise, why did you let that fire dragon burn my clothes? Yao Qianqian looked at the fire dragon flying above Leng Ruoxue and was furious. I don't have that ability. This was just an accident. Besides, if I ordered it, I definitely wouldn't let it only burn your clothes. Speaking of which, my fire dragon knows how to take care of women. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. As soon as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, the fire dragon circling above Leng Ruoxue actually cooperated and nodded its huge dragon head. Then, it flew towards Yao Qianqian. Ah! You pervert! Stay away from me! Yao Qianqian shouted. She was so agitated that she forgot to fight back. As the flames filled the sky, Yao Qianqian's voice became weaker and weaker. After a long time, the fire dragon, which had finally completed its mission, dissipated into thin air, leaving not even a speck of ashes on the ground. By now, everyone had finished fighting. Other than Leng Ruoxue and the others who were still as calm as before, the other teams were all in disbelief. Did they win? It was really unbelievable. They actually ate the elephant. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm after being stunned for a long time, the other teams finally reacted and cheered. By the time they finished cheering, Chen Wu and the others had already cleaned up the battlefield. These are your spoils of war, Chen Wu said as he handed the rings to the leaders of the teams. Ah! No need. You don't have to give it to us. Actually, we didn't do much. One of the leaders said in embarrassment. That's putting in the effort, right? Take it. This is your small treasury. Don't let anyone know, Chen Wu reminded them. In fact, in addition to looking down on these things, they had distributed these spoils to these teams to shut them up in case they accidentally let it out. However, although they didn't think much of the things in the rings, they were considered good things to the people in these teams. In that case, well, take it, another leader said. He wasn't stupid. He knew everyone was in the same boat now, so it was impossible for anyone to get away. In that case, why not? That's right. We've all suffered together, so we naturally have to share our blessings. Yes. Yes. Everyone nodded. At that moment, a cry for help sounded in their ears. Help! It stinks! As soon as Feng De shouted, he arrived. Behind him was naturally the smelly leader of the Yao family. Damn it, where are you going? I have to catch you, the leader of the Yao family shouted as he ran. Seeing this, everyone could not help but cover their noses and move aside to make way. However, at this moment, they were all in the mood to watch a good show. After all, this was the only person the Yao family had sent to silence them. Naturally, they were not afraid. Come and catch me. Catch up with me first. Feng De said provocatively. Hee hee. When Miss sent him a voice transmission to tell him that he could come back, he knew that it was over. If you have the guts, don't run, the leader of the Yao family said angrily. Alright, I won't run anymore. I'm tired after running for so long. Feng De deliberately stood in front of the Yao family's tent and kept a distance from the smelly man. Are you really not going to run? I warn you not to play any tricks. The leader of the Yao family said cautiously. He had no choice. The other party was too cunning. He was no match for them. No. Where did your Yao family go? Feng De pretended to be surprised. Hearing Feng Da's words, the Yao family's team started looking around. After searching, they really did not find anyone from the Yao family. Damn it, where the hell are those guys? The leader cursed angrily. They abandoned you and left first, Len Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Left? How long? The leader asked foolishly. He thought that the other party had returned to the Yao family. Therefore, he was very angry. These lazy bastards had left without completing their mission. Let's see how he deals with them when he gets back. But even as he thought about it, he didn't know that he had no chance of going back. He just left. He should be able to catch up now, Len Ruoxue reminded. Oh. Kid, wait for me. I'll deal with you when I find my clansmen. The leader said fiercely to Feng De, let me help you. Feng De suggested with a smile. Yes, we will also help you. Cheng Wu and the others echoed. Ah. How do you want to help me? The leader was puzzled. Of course I'm sending you on your way. Feng De smiled evilly and immediately released several light blue divine powers. The others followed suit. In an instant, colorful divine power danced in the air. In the blink of an eye, it tightly entangled the leader of the Yao family. He did not even have the time to resist, let alone leave any words behind before disappearing from this world. Chapter 979, Flame City, 1. When the team's presence saw that the Yao family had been completely wiped out, they were all very happy. However, they started to worry. After hesitating for a moment, someone asked, does the Yao family know that we did this? Unless you reveal your identity to the Yao family, they probably won't know, Len Ruoxue said calmly. No. Absolutely not. Several teams hurriedly expressed their stance. Everyone had just met by chance, so how could they easily tell others their true identities? That's good. Now that the matter is over, we can part ways. However, there are some things I have to remind you of. This matter is considered a secret between us. It won't do anyone any good to tell anyone, so keep your mouths shut. Otherwise, bear the consequences. Leng Ruoxue half reminded and half warned. We won't tell anyone. Please don't worry, the leaders promised. They weren't stupid. If word got out, their families would be doomed. So, of course, they wouldn't say anything. Of course I'm not worried about you. It's mainly the juniors of your families. Leng Ruoxue made it clearer. Don't worry, well remind them, the leaders said. Okay, then we'll take our leave. With that, Leng Ruoxue led everyone in the opposite direction. After walking out of the sight of those teams, Fengde asked softly, Miss, are we still going around in the mountains? No, let's go back to the first alliance first. We've brought the former alliance master's son out for so many days. I'm afraid the former alliance master is so anxious that he's about to get angry, Leng Ruoxue teased with a light smile. Please keep reading on my box novel. What about this kid? Fengde pointed at the ape on his shoulder. He had knocked the ape out before the Yao family appeared. Let him eat this. His mouth isn't tight. It's better to let him forget it. Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment and took out a pill and handed it to Fengde. Okay. Fengde nodded, then took the pill and stuffed it into the Yuan Ho's mouth. Not long after, Yuan Ho slowly woke up. However, the first thing he asked when he woke up was, have you found the bad guy who robbed me? Clearly, he didn't remember anything that happened after that. No, we've been here for more than half a month, but we haven't seen the team you mentioned, Fengde said helplessly. Then what should we do? What? It's been more than half a month. Yuan Ho shouted belatedly. Of course we're going back. If we don't go back, your father will think that you're missing. Fengde chuckled. Let's go back. Yuan Ho said weakly. Well, let's go. By the way, where's your bald eagle? His feathers should have grown out. Fengde suppressed his laughter. Yes. Yuan Ho nodded awkwardly. In fact, its feathers had grown longer, but they were still very short. That's good. Let's go back. Fengde patted Yuan Ho's shoulder and said comfortingly. Leng Ruoxue took out the little peacock. After everyone sat on it, there was no place for Yuan Ho, so he could only reluctantly take out its black eagle that had yet to grow fur. Ah! Beauty! We meet again. I really missed you to death. Unfortunately, Master refused to let me out. Boo-hoo, Black Egg, which had just left the beast's space, cried like a ghost. It was really heartbreaking for those who heard it and those who saw it cried. Leng Ruoxue and the others were speechless and sighed. They didn't know what to say. Black Egg. Don't embarrass yourself. Yuan Ho frowned. Even though he had done many embarrassing things, he had never been as embarrassed as Black Egg. Ow! The Black Egg let out a wolf howl, which immediately attracted all the wolves in Phoenix Cry Mountain. The sound rose and fell, and it was very rhythmic. Leng Ruoxue and the others looked at the top-grade Black Egg, and the speechlessness in their hearts deepened. Sigh. This was really a match made in heaven. Now, everyone unanimously agreed that this man and beast were a perfect match. Little Peacock, let's go. Leng Ruoxue shook her head helplessly and instructed. Please keep reading on my box novel. Yes, Master. The little peacock flapped its wings and flew away from Phoenix Cry Mountain. Beauty. Wait for me. Seeing this, Black Egg hurriedly wanted to chase after her, but was stopped by his master. Master, don't hold me back. I'm going after Beauty, the Black Egg said anxiously. It had not seen Beauty in a long time. Damn it, do you only have your beauty in your eyes? Do you still have me as your master? Master hasn't even sat on it. Do you want to abandon him and fly away alone? You dead beast that forgets your master when you see a woman. Yuan Ho cursed resentfully. Master is the same. Black Egg muttered, feeling extremely aggrieved. I beg your pardon. Bellowed Yuan Ho. And nothing. Master, come and sit on it, the Black Egg urged fearfully. Humph. Behave yourself, or the peacock won't be the one plucking your fur next time. Yuan Ho warned. Then, he sat on the Black Egg's back. After sitting on it, he couldn't help but secretly grumble. It was still more comfortable to sit on a hairless Black Egg. It was meaty. Yes, master. Black Egg's apology was sincere, but there was something crude about the way it moved. With a whoosh, it flew into the sky and chased after the little peacock. Beauty! Wait for me! Black Egg shouted as it accelerated. However, because it had too few feathers, no matter how fast it moved, it could not catch up with the little peacock. The next day. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others had already arrived at the Ascender Alliance. However, they did not enter the city but stayed outside the city gate to wait for the apes. After waiting for a while, it was almost noon, but Yuan Ho still had not arrived. Miss, did something happen to Yuan Ho? Should I go look for it? Feng De said worriedly. Unfortunately, he was not worried about Yuan Ho's safety, but God forbid anything should happen to him and ruin their plan. Chapter 980, Flame City, 2, Don't worry. It's very safe along the way. It must be because that damn eagle has too few feathers, so it flew a little slower. The little peacock said with great certainty. Hee hee. It was so happy to not be harassed by beasts along the way. Yes, wait a little longer. They should be here soon. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Beauty. Wait for me. As soon as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, Black Egg's voice came from afar. Before long, the man and eagle finally arrived. Beauty. Did you miss me? Black Egg quickly asked as soon as he landed in front of Leng Ruoxue and the others, as if he was afraid that the little peacock would forget him. You tell me. Peacock shot back. You definitely did, Black Egg said with certainty. The smug expression on his face was as annoying as it could get. Yes, I want to beat you up, the little peacock said with a faint smile. Fighting is affection and scolding is love. Hee hee. Beauty, come. Black Egg said excitedly. After saying that, he ignored his master, who was still sitting on his back, and prepared to lie down and let the little peacock do whatever she wanted. Yuan Ho, who had almost fallen, quickly climbed down from the black eagle's back and pointed at the Black Egg. However, he was so angry that he could not say a complete sentence. Alright, stop fooling around. Let's enter the city. Leng Ruoxue said speechlessly. Sigh. She was helpless against this black eagle. Moreover, she couldn't understand why this black eagle looked like a little peacock. Yes. Yuan Ho nodded obediently, then glared at the Black Egg. Let's go. Leng Ruoxue said and walked in front without looking back. As soon as he returned to the territory of the First Alliance, the guards patrolling the city discovered traces of Yuan Ho and immediately reported it to the Alliance leader. A moment later, Yuan Biao ran up to them while panting and scolded the ape. However, he was smiling when facing Leng Ruoxue and the others. Miss Ning, you're finally back. I don't know where you went either. I was so anxious, Yuan Biao said in embarrassment. Actually, he was mainly worried about his son, but he had to show appropriate concern for Leng Ruoxue and the others. I'm sorry, Alliance Master Yuan. We went to Phoenix Cry Mountain. We didn't have time to inform you because we left in a hurry, Leng Ruoxue said apologetically. Hee hee. I can understand that. But why did you go to Phoenix Cry Mountain? It's a distance from here. Yuan Biao asked in confusion. Young Master Yuan asked me out to shop, but there's really nothing to shop on this street, so we went to Phoenix Cry Mountain, Leng Ruoxue explained with a smile. Oh, I see. Yuan Biao said knowingly. Then he glared at his son. Father, there are indeed many baddies in Phoenix Cry Mountain. Your son was robbed, and you almost lost your precious son forever. You have to avenge me. Yuan Ho complained suddenly. What? Who robbed you? Fucking guts. Yuan Biao was furious when he heard this. Fuck. How dare someone rob his precious son? Did he want to die? I don't know them, but I've memorized their faces, Yuan Ho said with absolute certainty. Oh. Then tell father in detail later. Let's return to the First Alliance now. Yuan Biao thought for a moment and said. Yes, Miss Ning, let's go. Yuan Ho said fawningly. Let's go. Leng Ruoxue forced a smile and cooperated. After arriving at the First Alliance, Leng Ruoxue and the others directly returned to the Falling Swallow dwelling, while Yuan Ho continued to complain to Yuan Biao about how he had been robbed. The next day, Leng Ruoxue personally went to look for Yuan Biao and offered to see Ling Xiaoyu again. She promised that if Ling Xiaoyu still insisted on her conditions this time, she would give up. After Yuan Biao heard this, he immediately agreed to Leng Ruoxue's request without thinking and agreed to bring her to see Ling Xiaoyu in the afternoon. At the agreed time, Yuan Biao personally came to the Falling Swallow dwelling and brought Leng Ruoxue and the freak to the secret room. The three of them entered together after opening the chamber door, but were surprised to find the inner chamber empty. Alliance Master Yuan, where's Ling Xiaoyu? Leng Ruoxue asked in surprise, her beautiful face full of question marks. He might have gone to relieve himself. Even though Ling Xiaoyu made a mistake, we can't deprive her of her human rights, right? Yuan Biao explained awkwardly. Miss Ning, please wait for a moment. I'll go look for her, Yuan Biao said again. Then, he went to the toilet to look for her. After some time, Yuan Biao returned to the inner room with a dark expression. Alliance Master Yuan, what's wrong with you? Is Ling Xiaoyu angry with you again? Leng Ruoxue secretly laughed in her heart, but she still had to pretend to be puzzled and ask with concern. Sigh. Ling Xiaoyu probably ran away. Yuan Biao sighed heavily and said very angrily. Escape? How is that possible? The First Alliance is heavily guarded. No matter how capable Leng Xiaoyu is, she probably won't be able to escape. Leng Ruoxue said in disbelief. If I'm not wrong, he should have been saved by his master. Miss Ning, you might not know this, but blacksmiths usually have some unknown secret methods. Otherwise, their status wouldn't be so high. Yuan Biao explained with a vexed expression. Then what should we do now? Leng Ruoxue seemed to have no idea, but she couldn't help but feel anxious in her heart. It wasn't that there weren't blacksmiths and alchemists with high statuses, but there were very few of them. Other than the blacksmiths and alchemists who belonged to the two large guilds that were relatively freer, the alchemists and blacksmiths who belonged to the various large factions basically had to listen to the arrangements of the factions they belonged to. Otherwise, they wouldn't provide you with materials. Miss Ning, I can't help you with this matter. I'm sorry, Yuan Biao said apologetically. Sigh. Since they had already offended the Artificer Association, they could not offend the Ning family again. Otherwise, their Ascender Alliance would be attacked on both sides. Chapter 981, Flame City, 3, It's okay. I know that the Alliance Master Yuan has tried his best. I'll report the truth to father when I get home, Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Miss Ning is too polite. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to help you in the end. I'm really sorry. Yuan Biao was very satisfied with Leng Ruoxue's words and said politely. The two of them praised each other for a while before Leng Ruoxue and the freak returned to the falling dwelling. After staying in the First Alliance for 2 days, Leng Ruoxue and the others got up and bade farewell. However, in a casual chat with Yuan Biao before she left, Leng Ruoxue accidentally revealed that her father had recently become obsessed with refining weapons and pills. He seemed to be collecting materials, so that night, she received a gift from Yuan Biao for her father. After Leng Ruoxue and the others left the Ascender Alliance, they flew straight to Flame City. Flame City, as its name suggested, was a place with abnormally rich fire attributes. That was also the headquarters of the Blacksmith Guild in the Divine Continent. Therefore, many blacksmiths rushed to Flame City every day. At this moment, there was also the artifact refining competition held by the Blacksmith Guild once every 100 years. In particular, this year's competition was hosted by one of the 2 great artifact gods of the God Realm, Mo Yen. The attractiveness of an idol naturally could not be underestimated. Therefore, there were more artifact masters heading to Flame City this year than every other year. On the way to Flame City, the disheveled old man kept looking at the ring in his hand and couldn't stop smiling. Hee hee. These were all top-grade refining materials. There were even more secret metals and mithril. And the things in this ring were the gifts that Yuan Biao had given to curry favor with the Ning family. Now, they had benefited. Look at how useless you are. The old man did not like to see the disheveled old man so smug. He could not help but mock. Boo-hoo. Why did he not know how to refine pills and weapons? Hee hee. I'm in a good mood and can't be bothered to argue with you. The disheveled old man said calmly. He knew that this old man was envious, jealous, and hateful. Humph, the old man snorted, turning away from the smug old man. Girl, this Ascender Alliance is so rich. The little old man kept looking at the ring in his hand and said happily. Okay. Leng Ruoxue nodded calmly, feeling very helpless in her heart. Alas. These 2 old men were too restless. However, that Yuan Biao was quite good at pleasing her, causing her to feel a little embarrassed even if she wanted to give Yuan Biao a big gift. After all, it was a small matter to receive help. However, a small crime was inevitable. Little Shuer, when we reach Flame City, I'll introduce my master to you. Leng Xiaoyu chuckled. Not interested, Leng Ruoxue said lightly. Ah. Little Shuer, can't you give me some face? Leng Xiaoyu said with an aggrieved expression. In fact, he just wanted to show off that he had such an outstanding descendant. Unfortunately, little Shuer refused to give him this chance. Boo-hoo. No, Leng Ruoxue said decisively, but she was laughing in her heart. Ha! For some reason, she liked to see this cheap ancestor holding back recently, so she wanted to tease him when she had nothing to do. Ah! It seemed that her bad taste wasn't too good. Little Shuer, Leng Xiaoyu begged. The weather is really good today, Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. Then, she turned her head and ignored Leng Xiaoyu's pitiful act. Everyone chatted and laughed along the way. After flying for almost a week, they finally arrived at Flame City. As they approached Flame City, Leng Ruoxue and the others felt a fire attribute spiritual energy rush towards them, and the temperature here was obviously much higher than elsewhere. Miss, it's so hot here. Fengde couldn't take it anymore. His clothes were almost drenched. Yes, the fire attribute spiritual energy here is very dense. It's normal to be hot, Leng Ruoxue said in understanding. No wonder the Weapon Refinement Guild treated this place as their headquarters in the Divine Continent. This place was indeed very suitable. Ha! You'll get used to it. Moreover, ordinary cultivators can't enter Flame City unless there's an artifact refiner or alchemist leading them, Leng Xiaoyu explained with a smile. Flame City was important to the Weapon Refinement Guild, and it was no less important than the 8 great clans attached importance to their divine realm. Moreover, because of Flame City's uniqueness, other than artifact refiners and alchemists, ordinary cultivators were generally not welcome here, even if they were from the 8 great clans. Ah. Why? Fengde asked in confusion. Because this is the Artificer Association's headquarters in the Divine Continent. If it were you, would you welcome strangers to your house? Moreover, anyone who is qualified to settle down in Flame City is supported by the Artificer Association. Other blacksmiths are also not qualified to stay here for a long time, Ling Xiaoyu explained. Does the cheap sake old ancestor have a place to stay here? Leng Ruoshua asked lightly. As far as she knew, this cheap ancestor didn't seem to belong to the Artificer Association. However, his master was the vice president of the Artificer Association. Little Shuer, guess, Leng Xiaoyu said mysteriously. I want guess, Leng Ruoshua said without giving him face. Then, she secretly laughed in her heart. I have a place to stay here, but I've only stayed here a few times, Leng Xiaoyu said helplessly. Boo-hoo. Why wasn't little Shuer willing to cooperate with him? That means we can enter. Cui Zhu said happily. She was quite curious about everything here since she had just arrived in the Divine Continent. If the cheap sake old ancestor can't bring us into Flame City, then no one can bring us in, Leng Ruoshua teased with a light smile. Yes, don't worry. It'll bring you all in, Leng Xiaoyu promised. After Leng Xiaoyu promised, Leng Ruoshua instructed the little peacock to land near the city gate. After everyone jumped off the little peacock's back, they walked towards the city gate together. Leng Ruoshua and the others were stopped by the guards at the city gate. This is my artificer certificate. They're all with me. Leng Xiaoyu took out a red token and said to the guard. You can go in, but they can't. The guard glanced at the sign and said to Leng Xiaoyu. Why? Leng Xiaoyu asked in confusion. When did Flame City change its rules? Why didn't he know? Chapter 982, Flame City, 4, There are too many of them, you cannot bring them in. The guard said very seriously. What kind of logic is that? Leng Ruoshua chuckled, but her beautiful eyes emitted waves of coldness. This was the first time she had heard that people were not allowed to enter the city because she had too many people with her. The rules of Flame City were indeed different. That's right. Why we enter? It's not my first time here. When did the rules of Flame City change? Leng Qianye asked mockingly. That's the new rule. There are already a lot of people in the city, so we have to control the number of people entering the city, the guards said in a Business-like manner. Who set this rule? Leng Xiaoyu asked unhappily. Damn it, wasn't this trying to provoke conflict? He knew very well that if not for him, little Shuer and the others would have beaten the guard up without hesitation. The president, of course, the guard said righteously. Which president? Leng Xiaoyu demanded. Aren't you an artificer? How can you not know who is the president, the guard retorted. All right, the president, right? I'll go find him. Leng Xiaoyu said angrily. You can go to him, but these men cannot enter the city without the president's permission, the guard said stubbornly. Cheap sake old ancestor, in that case, we won't force you. You can go in first. However, if that president doesn't invite us personally, I won't enter Flame City. Suddenly, Leng Ruoxu's cold voice floated into Leng Xiaoyu and the guard's ears. Still, it was more for the guard's ears than anything else, because she'd seen the guard let another team, no less numerous than their own, into Flame City before they did. The difference in treatment naturally infuriated her. All right, then wait for me here for a while. I'll be back soon. Leng Xiaoyu naturally understood what little Shuer meant. He strode into Flame City after looking at the guard with a faint smile. Miss, what should we do? Fengde asked softly when he saw Leng Xiaoyu enter the city. Do as you see fit. Leng Ruoshua smiled evilly. Yes. Fengde nodded. Then, he gave Lin Yuan and the others a look. Everyone attacked together and dragged the two guards at the door to a corner. After beating them up, most of their anger dissipated. Len Ruoshua smiled at the guard who walked out from the corner with a swollen face and asked with concern, "Brother guard, what's wrong?" "And nothing," the two guards said fearfully. "Boo-hoo, these people were so savage and savage." "Did you fall?" Len Ruoshua asked with a smile. "Yes, yes." The two guards nodded vigorously. They didn't dare say otherwise, for fear that these people would beat them up again if they were upset. "You guys are too careless. Be careful when you walk next time," Len Ruoshua reminded. What she meant was that they shouldn't be so blind and look down on others next time. I. The guard nodded quickly and returned to his post, but the peculiar looks of the men entering the city made them uncomfortable. Boo-hoo. Even though they were only guards of the Flame City, because of the special nature of the Flame City, they had always gotten whatever they wanted. Anyone who wanted to enter the city had to curry favor with them. However, these people actually dared to beat them up. Just wait and see. If there was a chance, they would definitely report them to the president. The two guards thought to themselves. "Miss, are we really waiting here?" Chen Wu casually glanced at the two guards at the door and asked curiously. He believed that if they entered the city now, these two bullies would not dare to stop them. "Of course, we have to give our ancestor some face." Len Ruoshua smiled calmly. After saying that, she took out a recliner from her bracelet and sat down. Seeing this, the others also followed suit and sat at the city gate. Moreover, because of their relationship, the two guards did not dare to let anyone enter the city when they encountered a large group. Therefore, in a short while, there were complaints at the city gate. "Is everyone not allowed to enter the city because there are many people?" At this moment, a handsome young man walked up to Len Ruoshua and the others and asked politely. "That's right. However, several teams went in before us. We saw it with our own eyes, but when it came to us, they suddenly stopped." Feng De looked at the city guard and complained. "Oh." The young man nodded, but didn't comment. He bowed slightly and returned to his group. Other than the young man, the other teams outside the city naturally also heard Feng Da's words. However, their tempers were clearly not as good as the young man's. After knowing this, they dragged the two guards guarding the city to a corner. Chapter 983, The House That Changed Hands. 1. As for what they had done, everyone naturally had a tacit understanding. When the two guards limped out of the corner, covered in injuries, everyone present acted as if nothing had happened. They did what they were supposed to do. The two guards returned to the city gate and stood there with fear on their faces. Their eyes were still staring at everyone present with abnormal vigilance, afraid that they would beat them up again if they were unhappy. At the same time, Ling Xiaoyu went straight to the Artificer Association. After arriving at the Artificer Association, he took out his identity as an artificer and asked to see the president. However, the in charge of receiving him actually refused when he saw that he only held a red token that represented his identity as an ordinary artificer. In the association hall, Ling Xiaoyu glared at the waiter standing opposite him and said coldly, "Say that again." "No means no. Our president isn't someone any Tom, Dick, or Harry can meet," the in-charge said with his nose in the air. Humph. He had seen many ordinary artificers like this every day. If everyone saw the president would die of exhaustion. "Are you calling me a Tom, Dick, and Harry?" Ling Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes, a dangerous aura appeared in them. However, the proud and arrogant in-charge did not notice it. "It's good that you know your place," the in-charge said condescendingly. "Ha! It seems that I haven't been to Flame City for too long. I didn't know that Fu Ran actually raised you snobs." Ling Xiaoyu laughed angrily. The Fu Ran he was talking about was the president of the Artificer Association headquarters of the Divine Continent. The two of them could be considered friends. However, what Ling Xiaoyu did not expect was why Fu Ran was different from what he knew after not seeing her for many years. At least as far as he could remember, Fu Ran would never allow the staff of the guild to look down on any artifact master. Who is Fu Ran? I don't know him. The in-charge chuckled. You don't even know your own president? Ling Xiaoyu asked calmly. However, he was a little surprised. Could it be that something had happened in the Artificer Association that he didn't know about? Our president's name is not Fu Ran, the in-charge said with his chin high and a smug expression. Then who is the current president of the Flame City's Artificer Association? Ling Xiaoyu probed. Our president is His Excellency Yao Yuan, the in-charge said very proudly. Yao Yuan. Ling Xiaoyu's pupils constricted and he subconsciously clenched his fists. He didn't expect the president of the Artificer Association in Flame City to be that despicable person. How dare you call the president by his name? I think you don't want to live anymore. The waiter roared angrily after hearing Ling Xiaoyu's words. Humph. As a member of the Artificer Association, he must firmly protect the president's authority. Take me to see Yao Yuan. Ling Xiaoyu directly grabbed the in-charge's collar and ordered. You! How dare you treat me like this? Someone attacked the Artificer Association. The waiter was so frightened that he hurriedly shouted at the top of his lungs. After he shouted, a group of people immediately surged out from all directions and surrounded Ling Xiaoyu. Who is so bold as to attack the Artificer Association? You really don't want to live anymore. The guard roared angrily. There were more people entering Flame City than usual now, and their workload had increased drastically. However, there were actually still people who dared to cause trouble in the Artificer Association. Wasn't this like plucking fur from a tiger's butt? Captain Zhao doesn't even recognize me. Ling Xiaoyu looked at the person who spoke with a faint smile, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Ah! Your Excellency Ling Xiaoyu. Captain Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief. Didn't he hear that Ling Xiaoyu had returned to the boundless heaven continent? Why did he appear on the divine continent again? Finally, someone remembers me, Ling Xiaoyu said mockingly. He thought that all of Artificer Association was already Yao Yuan's people. He didn't expect to see someone he knew. It was really not easy. Your Excellency Ling Xiaoyu, didn't you return to the boundless heaven continent? Why are you here? Captain Zhao was very curious, so he accidentally asked what was on his mind. Can't I come back after returning to the boundless heaven continent? Or does someone not want me to come back? Ling Xiaoyu said with a faint smile. Hee hee. Your Excellency Ling Xiaoyu really likes to joke. Captain Zhao laughed dryly and awkwardly. Does Captain Zhao just got to know me today? Am I someone who likes to joke? Ling Xiaoyu asked calmly. Ah. Captain Zhao felt a headache coming on as he faced Ling Xiaoyu. Sigh. He couldn't afford to offend this master. What kind of eyesight did this in-charge have? He actually didn't even know the famous Ling Xiaoyu. Damn it. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but glare fiercely at the in-charge. At this moment, the in-charge was already scared silly by Ling Xiaoyu. I want to see Yao Yuan, Ling Xiaoyu said to Captain Zhao without even looking at the small in-charge. Your Excellency Ling Xiaoyu, President Yao is in a meeting. His Excellency Mo Yen is also here, Captain Zhao said honestly. At the same time, he couldn't help but grumble in his heart. You cannot give Yao Yuan face, but you do have to give your master face. Therefore, he didn't think that Ling Xiaoyu would barge into the meeting room. Is that so? Then I'll go up and find him myself, Ling Xiaoyu said disapprovingly. After saying that, he walked past the guards who did not dare to stop him and went straight upstairs. Even though he had not been here for many years, he was once very familiar with this place. Therefore, he did not need anyone to lead the way. He found the location of the meeting room with his eyes closed. The conference room was on the third floor of the Artificer Association. After Ling Xiaoyu reached the third floor, he knocked symbolically and pushed the door open. Damn it! Who allowed you to barge into the meeting room? Suddenly, a roar sounded in Ling Xiaoyu's ear. It's been many years since we last met, President Yao. Your voice is full of energy. It seems like you've taken care of yourself a lot, Ling Xiaoyu teased calmly. You. Ling Xiaoyu. Yao Yuan, who was sitting on the chair, stood up in shock and looked at him in disbelief. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.